Let's talk about that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the live stream Outpost Frequencies, brought to you by thelastmovieoutpost.com.
I apologize, George. You're being heard, but you're not being seen. So I will fix that. You continue. Continue.
I was going to say that's probably a good thing. Nobody wants to see me.
Just like his mother always wished.
It's a shame because I got my new office all set up and all my nice things. Yes, welcome to thelastmovieoutpost.com. For all of your movie news, reviews, and everything cool about film. Oh, I can see now. Yeah, it's only Sean on the camera. It's just Sean. That's even worse. That's just going to put people off.
Mike,
You're not on there either, Yoda.
No, I've just got him right now.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, good evening and hello. Or I say good evening. It's early evening for us now because of you guys have had your daylight saving hours, and so I was informed that I needed to be an hour
I've
early.
saved so much daylight. And there was daylight dying all winter, but luckily we put a stop to it. And you can
Summer is
donate
on the way.
You can donate to my Save the Daylight GoFundMe where I'm helping Orphan Daylight. Sean Thompson at gmail.com will be the donation for PayPal.
Fair enough.
It also just happens to be the same donation for the Sean Thompson Retirement and Extra Gun Fund. So, but I don't commingle those.
Yeah, they are completely separate entities. That money was just resting in my account. Of course, you guys wouldn't get that because you've never seen Father Ted. Father Ted, if for the English people over here, they are now laughing because they know what that is. It's a very irreverent, satirical sitcom about three priests on an island in Ireland.
So what do they? If there's no child to molest, what do they do?
No, the thing is I know it sounds completely dull, but it is one of the funniest TV programs ever made. If you get a chance to watch it, it is brilliant.
I'm hooked already.
Cynical.
You are hosting, right? You go for 1 week. You haven't introduced anybody. You guys have gone. It's already a train wreck.
I was thrown completely off whack. I was going through my introduction when I heard, no, I can't do you.
You know what this is. You know what this is. You know the technical difficulties I have every goddamn week. You should be used to it by now. This is on you, buddy.
Right. This is on me. Okay, so I am your host, apparently, not George Lucas. And with me, as always, is our technical expert, Yoda.
Hi. I like pooters.
I can't move my mouse because my mouse is over the left-hand side of the screen, but it's on the left-hand side of the mouse mat, and I don't know how to get it back.
I like to pet the mouse. It's oh!
I got my pet, and I love him and pet him, and he will be my friend.
Now now nobody's laughing at that because we're the only three old bastards that would even get that one.
Yeah, that's what public school is actually worth a shit. They gave you books that weren't My Two Mamas and shit like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had to read Steinbeck and Shakespeare.
All that
yes,
crap.
Right. Oh, good old Shakespeare. Right, anyway, so, and also we've got Sean with us this evening. Hello, Sean.
Hi. I'm so excited to talk about Star Trek Wars again.
This is a good one. I think you're going to enjoy this because too. I am not going to be. This is going to be a competition, but it's going to be more of a competition of who is getting screwed over more, And so I think you might actually enjoy it because it's not a kind of like who's better, Star Wars or Star Trek, because we all know the answer to that. Obviously, it's Star Wars. But who's getting screwed over more? Because this is going to be quite the debate, I think, because both sides have got a good argument in light of what's been going on. But should we talk about some other news in the first of all?
Before we get started, we got to talk about the movie news video from last night. That was great. The Putin saying,
right.
If anybody asks, okay, you guys wonder why we put politics, why we end up talking some politics sometimes. It's not because we want to. It's because frickin' Stacey Abrams appears on Star Trek Discovery. That's why. That piece of human excrement who has that wonderful photo of her maskless with all the little children around her masked, all the underlings masked, the one who can't accept that she didn't. So then all these Hollywood stars that, just get up there, act, and shut the hell up because you don't know what you're talking about most of the time. They're all about Ukraine. And then that video came out. That video with Vladimir Putin singing Blueberry Hill with Kevin Costner, Goldie Hawn. I believe Monica Bellucci was there, but I wasn't sure if I could see her.
She's got some really great talent.
Both of them.
Yes, talent.
Oh my God.
So she's got huge tracts of land.
So is that they really were at some kind of event with him singing that?
That's is absolutely 100% authentic. I moved around some of the reaction shots to keep the thing short, but they're from that video, and you can find it all over YouTube. That is not a bullshit video. I didn't make it up.
What was the event? What was the event going on?
Who gives a shit?
I just wondered because
it was in 2010. So Putin would have. I don't know if he was still president of Russia. I think it was Medvedev at that time.
2010. He's been president for.
No. Well. Remember, he took a hiatus.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But he certainly was still pulling the strings, and he certainly was still murdering all his rivals wherever he could, and he was still a piece of shit. And okay, you end up at a gala and he happens to be there. Maybe you just kind of sit there on your hands. But Sharon Stone looks like she was ready to jump his ass. I mean, god damn, the enthusiasm they had for him was sickening.
Does nobody remember the enthusiasm Hollywood and the media had for Gorbachev? I remember Rush Limbaugh even coined a term called the Gorbasm.
Yeah.
When Gorbachev would be, because they would, anytime he was in the news, they were like, oh.
But there was at least some kind of, like, whether or not they were misled or not, you could say we all thought, or we kind of assumed that Gorbachev was trying to bring Soviet Union away from its horrible past. Okay, whether that was true or not. Let's just say that was the thing you were rooting for, which is not a bad thing to root for. I'll kind of give him that. What are you rooting for with Putin? He has been a piece of shit since the very beginning. Since the day he took over for Yeltsin.
I like him.
The man gets the job.
I gotta admit, there's something about an iron-fisted dictator that kind of appeals to me.
Have you seen the picture of him topless on the horse? I mean,
the bear. It's a bear. It's a bear. Get it right. My favorite.
I have that for my special time in the bathroom. Yeah.
My favorite clip is when Putin's at that thing and that woman comes running up to him topless, and all those guys are trying to stop her, and he goes, "Woo!" That was so. I was like, how can I can relate to that. That's all I'm saying.
I just say
I must admit.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I've missed all of this. Basically, my new house has not got a TV area working, and so I haven't seen the news or anything. I mean, it could have been the rapture outside, and I have no idea.
Well, that's probably why you're still smiling and still in a good mood,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been great not having the TV. Ignorance really is bliss.
It is.
So, all I've been doing is catching up on films, and that's it.
Let's move on. Let's try to move on from the politics so we don't alienate.
I'm just saying that the video popped up recently.
It was great.
It's kind of making the rounds. People are like, writing stories here and there about it. Of course, not in the big mainstream ones because nobody wants to embarrass their people that get them into good parties. But I was like, I can't believe this is a thing, and it just was too good to pass up. So
yeah, it was great, dude. It was an inspired moment.
It was weird at first because you had the tweets from certain people, and I was thinking,
you almost thought I was being serious, didn't you?
Yeah, and I was thinking, why
I did.
Is he doing this? And then when it went to this whole party, I was just jaw on the floor.
I thought for sure he was like, well, he's trying to be fair to show we're not just constantly grabbing.
Do I know how to plan a setup or what?
You said that I got totally sandbagged. I was like, well done. It's like somebody served me divorce papers or something. That's how shocked I was.
And I do appreciate you guys not talking about my abysmal split screen.
No, that was good. That was good.
It was so obvious.
Wait, you mean you don't have a twin?
Yeah.
I watched it on my phone and didn't notice any.
You have to watch on a screen that small to not notice.
Well, most people are watching that stuff. I'm
using this as an opportunity to play around with different ideas with cameras and things like that, special effects and everything. I thought I would give it a try. It'll be fun. And I played with that for like an hour and a half, and I could not get those two goddamn scenes to match up in color. Or I should have put it both in black and white and been done with it, but you know.
You may think that we've run out of color here, but that's not the case. It's simply the fact that I can't get the bloody colors from it.
No, it's not. It's just incompetence. That's what it is.
You know, you've truly hit rock bottom when you're making YouTube videos in black and white.
There's a great story.
Thank you.
There's a great story about a movie called If with Malcolm McDowell, and it was directed by I can't remember their name now, but there was a whole. It's quite a sort of deep movie, and it's quite a cult status and stuff. And there was a whole section of them in the middle of it shot in black and white. And for years, these film critics have mused and sort of said, "Oh, this was shot in black and white because they were showing the oppression of society and blah 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 and all this lot." And it was only years later that the director came out and said, "We couldn't afford color." So there's a famous anime from the 80s or 90s, like it's called Gunbuster, and the last like 20 or 30 minutes of the episode, it's done, and this very convincing, it's like black and white freeze frames of this major battle, and it's the only, and you think, oh, what and it's like, oh, it looks it's so stark, it's like, oh, it's like watching a World War II, and then like about 5 or 10 years ago, it's like, no, we just ran out of money, and
art from adversity.
And it was it's and it really is, kind of it gives it a real, ambiance of like, you get this desperation because, there are these freeze frames and stuff. But
I just like the fact that there are people out there who sort of think, oh no, I completely understand what the director was trying to do there. I'm really on their save wave. And it's just like, yeah, we just ran out of money. So
yeah,
that's like I do. Yes, I'm looking at my credit statement. I totally understand what's going on.
Have you heard that? Have you guys ever heard that story about when Sam Peckinpah had done the Wild Bunch, and he was at like the whatever you call it, the press roundabout tour of it, and some intellectual media type gets up, was like, so at the ending, is this so violent because this is your stance on the war in Vietnam and how violent and useless it is and futile, and it goes on for 10 minutes, and he goes, no, I just like a good shoot 'em up.
No, there's no graces or anything else.
That's an interesting, like, Clerks was famously, it was black and white because he just couldn't afford film stock, and people don't realize how much film stock actually costs, and the price difference between color and black and white is significant. Now, of course, everything's digital. Nobody, it obviously is a choice. But you bring up a good point, Sean. Do you think that that sometimes there, maybe unconsciously or maybe through adversity or something like that, that there is more to the actual product than even the creators expected? Like you say, well, did you mean all this? It's like, yeah, but you could easily see it in there, and even if maybe it wasn't meant to, does that mean it isn't there?
Yeah, I think that oftentimes it is, because these are creative people that they, even with little to work with, they're still going to impart. They're going to, and oftentimes I think they find that when they're restricted, they go back to like their film school days, or when they were young trying to make it, and they get more creative maybe than they would have when they've got the laziness of all this stuff to work with. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at Spielberg's what's that first TV movie he made about the truck chasing the guy, the Duel. There's nothing in that really, special effects wise, but man, it's really compelling stuff.
Well,
and then you look at Ready Player One, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
So I think that
the original Star Wars. There's
the
original Star Wars, clearly, maybe this is our segue there, George, but the original,
if you say it kind of loses it,
that's what I was going to say. It's like, it seems so planned, and then you ruined it.
I'm sorry, you've met me, right?
He's holding up a thing at the screen saying, switch to two.
I keep getting this idea you expect competence. I don't know where this is coming from.
Yeah.
The original Star Wars certainly has some deep mythological underpinnings that I'm not, because when George said he wanted to do it, it was basically on a bet. I bet you can't make just a fun, sci-fi, serial type movie, because that's what it was all coming from. But there's so many, call it a lightning in a bottle or whatever you want to call it, but there's so many moments in there that clearly resonate well beyond just an awesome sci-fi adventure. That people look. I love Back to the Future. I still watch Back to the Future, but nobody is really as deeply into Back to the Future like people are into Star Wars. I mean, I think Jedi is now a religion, for Christ's sake. It's bizarre.
At least in the UK, we had a massive census, and so they said, basically, if you get over 10,000 people saying it, it's a recognised religion. So in the UK,
that's right,
now,
it was
Jedi
in the UK.
is.
I forgot about that. So I mean, it's got to be more than just what George was trying to do. And I'm not saying that he didn't have a huge hand in it, and I always have defended George as being a great big idea man. It's the details where he gets bogged down. I don't like
Howard the Duck.
it.
I think Howard the Duck proves that.
Yeah. Did he direct that?
He already produced it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you need somebody to direct, and he gets bogged down a lot of the technical details and that kind of stuff. But as far as the big idea of Star Wars, he had that down pat. And then you had guys like Irvin Kershner and good writers that helped him out, Kasdan and all that, at the top of their games, who really found that thing that really hit a tuning fork in civilization.
They distilled what he meant to do better than even he could do.
Absolutely.
But then, see, conversely, I would say that don't get me wrong. I mean, the original Star Wars, the writing is brilliant. You have got a great story where you're following these characters, and it's great from beginning to end. But then he went on to write the prequels, and kind of just messed everything up. Added the whole midi-chlorian thing, turned Vader into a child murdering psychopath, and all this kind of stuff. And it just, I always remember that. It was I'm sure it was on one of the DVD extras for the Phantom Menace or something, and George was going through all the design of the characters, and I just might just be me. I'm sure he was looking at Watto, and this guy was saying, "Oh, we've got big jowls on him and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff."
Make him Jewish.
But George said, "Oh grief, I better get right in this thing," and I thought, that can't be right. I mean, I appreciate that Star Wars was written over several, maybe years, to get it to the stage that it was, the original Star Wars. And then the same with bringing in Kasdan and the others to rewrite Empire and Jedi, to tie them all up. But Lucas, when he wrote the Phantom Menace and everything else, it took everything away, all of that magic and everything else. So on the one hand, his writing is brilliant, but on the other hand, it is absolutely terrible.
I got a question. Wait a minute. I got something that's I've always wondered about for years, and I'm no better to ask than you two dorks about this. Why is it that even though the prequels are set years before the original three, why does the technology look so much more advanced than it does? Why couldn't they have? They could have easily recreated the look of the spaceships and the technology in the prequel movies, but everything looks so much more,
Because between 1977 and 1999, we had the computer revolution. So
yeah, but no. I'm not. Yeah, but
that's the reason, dude. That really is.
Yeah.
And it looks cool. Yeah. But in reality, I always thought that was really. If you watch like those and then go straight into it's like, man, that's really striking how. Because they could have phased it in a little better.
I guess I have a theory on that, and I think that watching current events, and I won't go into that, but I'm just saying that if you look at some history, that kind of stuff, a despot, tyrannical type of government, with the iron fist and everything like that, falls apart. It doesn't, nobody's doing this for the greater good, and people will try to pull out whatever value they can for themselves because it's the only way to survive, and you can't do anything outside of what your leaders say because you might get choked to death or Vadered or just murdered by your superiors, right? And I think that everything starts to decay pretty quickly. They said it only was around for 30 years, and I'm like going, yeah, I think there is some truth to the idea that if you do not have a good, I don't know, social foundation, and trust in the leadership and freedom to pursue and do things in a good way. I mean, I'm just shocked at how the Russian army is basically just a pile of turds that can't seem to do anything. And I know that Putin really rules with an iron hand, and it's kind of like, okay, maybe there's some. So I'm wondering if that kind of feeds into more than what even Lucas thought. You had this pinnacle time of the Republic when everybody could do mostly whatever, and everybody had representation and all that. And then when you went under Palpatine, I mean, he got rid of the clones. He just conscripted people, and stuff wasn't really well put together anymore. There were no shields on TIE fighters. I mean, you could go on and on. I was like, I think there may be some
yeah. I mean, I'll buy
idea to that.
Whether that's
to me.
If that's intended or not, I'll buy that though.
Yeah.
Like that's as
good
as
it's completely. I mean, like I say, I don't look at anything through the eyes of politics at all. It's very rare for me to do so. For me, like Tatooine, where the majority of the original trilogy is set, obviously, 4 and 6 are pretty, quite a lot set on there. It's just a dirty, dusty old planet with crappy old stuff where nobody can get anything new. Whereas the Phantom Menace was set on Naboo, where it was set in a palace where there was a ruling government and everything else, and so everything did look cleaner and newer and fresher, and so they had the money to do that, whereas Tatooine never did. That's the way I've always seen it.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. I mean, I think there's obviously we got all these locations and everything, and we want to have different sets and all that kind of stuff. I think, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're looking at more of the technological differences.
That's what I'm talking about. They've got like Tony Stark stuff in the prequels, and then everything's so dry, and
that's where I'm trying to come up with it.
I can understand the Rebels having cobbled together stuff, but the Empire, even at the end of the last prequel, when Darth Vader comes out, they go right into a scene of they're sitting on the bridge of a Star Destroyer or whatever, and it's like okay, they still would have had enough money and resources at that point to.
Well, the guys at the top always do well,
right? But they don't. That's the thing, though. You go right in.
Some of it's obviously, special effects and the stuff at the time. But
yeah, he just he could do it because new technology, of course. But I always thought that was a very weird contrast to go from.
You're taking people from conscripting them, and stormtroopers can't seem to hit the floor with a can of paint, let alone shoot anything worth a damn. And so maybe they simplified all the controls because they're like, red button stop, green button go. You got it.
Yeah.
But then conversely, again, I just think it comes down to, I don't want to say laziness on George's part, but what he did with the prequels, on the one hand, I was excited to see it and everything else, but on the other hand, there is so much that just disappoints me with them. Like as I come back to the whole midi-chlorian thing and everything else. So just the fact that he did change the style so that everything is clean and computer generated in the prequels. It was just one of those things that he just didn't, I don't want to say didn't care about, but just didn't think about.
Well, I look at it, the prequels, like if you look at it from a very broad strokes, I think there's some good framework there. A republic at the height of its powers, a Jedi who can't seem to get over what the things that he wants versus the greater good, because Luke wasn't really interested in those kinds of things. He was more interested in saving his friends and putting himself out there where so I think there's something there of a guy who can't let go of things, and a republic that has been corrupt and decadent, and people are paying each other off in the Senate and all that kind of stuff. And I think that, and then an external force, the separatists, right? An external force that's been created to put Palpatine in power. I think all of those ideas are good. After that, the execution and everything to get there. I also don't think it's a bad idea to say, hey, maybe the Jedi weren't as awesome as we think. Maybe they screwed up.
I always thought they were kind of the, sort of like low-key villain. They are,
No, I know. We've had this conversation before.
Villains would have. Yeah, that's the problem. They come across almost like villains, or they don't seem to. They seem to have lost their humanity. But I think they should have. If it was done right, it could have been looked at as a failing, and a re-understanding of what Jedi should have been about that they've forgotten along the way. And that's maybe Yoda and Obi-Wan kind of were the only two that seem to still follow that. And that the rest of the Jedi maybe fell or became evil. I mean, I think there's a lot of things they could have done. And I think there's some ideas there. It's just, that's not what we got.
The problem is, especially when you're making something like a sequel or a prequel, really, you have to pay attention to the details. And the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
When
especially when you're talking about something like this. This isn't a prequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre where it doesn't really matter. This is something people obsess over, so you can't just half-ass it.
Well,
not with a fan base like that.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was he using 2-stroke oil or was it 4-stroke? Because forget it. If he's using the wrong oil, then just forget it.
That's a Black & Decker. That wasn't what he liked. So George, would you agree with me that the basic framework that maybe failed, but the basic framework that there was a somewhat of an idea and a construction that we could say the execution was terrible, but that there was a somewhat of a plan there, and you could kind of see it through all the garbage?
Yes, okay. I always remember Rick McCallum, who was the guy who produced the special editions and then the prequels. I remember him talking about the second one, Attack of the Clones, and he said that the script was so, I can't remember the word he used, but he said we could change things as we were working on it. And again, I keep thinking, no, if you're making a film, you have to have the script down. That is the backbone. Yeah. That is the thing that has to be the foundation of everything. And if you're moving that around and shifting stuff and everything else, it just goes to pot. And I mean, the actual plot details, again, the devil in the detail, if you watch the red letter media of both Phantom Menace, all three of them, they break down what is wrong with those movies.
Yes.
And
guys,
just
I'm going to step out to take this dog out or it's going to bark and aggravate everybody, so I'll be right back.
Don't let it detonate on the carpet.
All right, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
What I'm trying to say, George, is that we know what the failings are of the prequels, but we can see that there was at least a rough blueprint that was put together. There was a plan executed poorly. So, getting to today's subject, what was the blueprint of the sequels? I don't see anything.
Right. This is exactly the point. I've always maintained that with the sequel trilogy, I always got the impression that Rick McCallum, like I say, particularly was guilty of this. That George came to him and said, "Okay, here's the story," and Rick McCallum should have said, "George, this isn't great. I think we need maybe a few more rewrites, maybe get some other people in." But instead, he just said, "No, yeah, this is great. We'll make this," and because of that, George was, the way I see it is, he was surrounded by yes men who were just simply there to say yes. And so whatever George thought was yes. And nobody stood up to him and said, "Actually, George, do you know what? You might want to back the..." And with the sequel trilogies, exactly the same thing happened. Kathleen Kennedy came in. There was no plan. There was no blueprint. There was nothing that showed there was a cohesive story that people were going to follow. I mean, I've come back and I've said this, I know 1,000 times before, but Kevin Feige, whatever he's called, had a plan from Iron Man to Endgame.
Why is this so difficult for you?
Feige, I don't know. I see it and it's weird. Feige. Kev had a plan from Iron Man to Endgame. And he managed to pull that whole thing off and make a coherent set of movies, no matter how good or bad you think they are or anything else. They had a story that ran the whole the way through them so that they tied up neatly at the end. And Kathleen Kennedy, as a producer, it seemed like she got to make the first Star Wars, but then nobody said to her, "This needs to be a trilogy, so you need to tie them up all nicely." And that's exactly what happened. There was absolutely no plan or blueprint anywhere across those three films.
Yeah, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is not the idea person. She's not the writer. She's the producer, and it's her job to get the right people in there and approve all this stuff. So I'm not giving her a pass. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's that stupid Bad Robot J.J. Abrams mystery box garbage where they like, we're going to set up all these mysteries and we'll figure it out later. No, bullshit.
Oh, that's the worst. That's what ruined Prometheus. Have you guys ever read the original script or treatment for that? And it was like all the plot points. It made perfect sense. It tied into the alien world. But then one of the guys that worked on Lost is like, no. Here's what we got to do, Ridley. And then it killed it.
Well, I mean, they played that card once with Lost, and granted, the setups and everything worked. But then when we got to the end, everybody went, "What?"
Yeah.
And nobody's looking back on Lost really fondly anymore.
I saw somebody on a Facebook movie group is like, I'm starting Lost, and it's so great. And people are like, dude.
That's so bad. That's like somebody doing Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Oh, just like Game of Thrones. Oh, God. Get to the end of season 5 and just turn it off. But I don't know how it happened. What ends, it doesn't matter. Turn it off.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought the ending of Game of Thrones was okay.
What, that it ended, or?
Well, no. I mean, I don't like how they got there was a little retarded, but the ending.
A little. Are you kidding me?
Anyway, I thought
you are no longer allowed to contribute to this stream. Anymore.
Completely disavow everything.
God damn.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry I don't have your all's high-minded ideals of how Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Who, you two geeks with your Star Trek and your Star Wars. But Game of Thrones ended not that badly. Oh, whatever.
Yeah. Well, how did you think it was going to end?
Better than that.
Better. Yeah, anything would have been
That's
better.
Maybe not, building up the Witch King or whatever his name was the entire 7 seasons, only to have Arya come in from the back with an icicle and say,
No.
Gotcha!
I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about the ending, the last.
I'm talking about the entire 8th season was garbage.
Yeah. I think it's your own fault for,
It's your own fault for, liking
as
stuff.
It's not made for you. Do better. It wasn't made for you.
Matt Ink is all over the chat here. Do you want to mollify him a little bit before he?
Yeah,
he's accusing me of browsing the news. No, I've got the control panel right here, and then I've got the TV up here, which so I can look at the camera. It's a whole thing I got going on here. It's amazing I can even function.
And I didn't go to the toilet that time. I took the dog out to the toilet. I probably will have to go.
But since you were out there.
Yeah. When you ain't got no hand, when you don't have toilet paper, the dog's fur, in a pinch.
What? No, I was just going to say he went out to take a dump, and we were talking about Star Trek, so same thing.
Hey-o.
I'm here all week. Be sure to tip your waitress. Mannix thinks that Marty McFly is a religion. Well, I don't think it is. Interesting, but everybody goes around on skateboards and plays guitars too loud.
I wonder if because it's a comedy, it doesn't get the same sort of, when you were talking about it earlier and you brought that up. I wonder if, because it's mainly a comedy, it doesn't have that sort of, people love it, but it's not,
I think, with Back to the Future, you kind of think to yourself, oh, God, I wonder what would happen if I went back to my teenagers years and, make out with my mum. She was hot. All this kind of stuff. I suppose they only think that in America, don't they?
My mom may be watching this, so I ain't saying nothing.
Wait a minute. Says a guy who's ruled by an incestuous family.
Yeah, no, actually, I can't deny that. But with it, it's a fun movie and it's a fun entertainment movie. Whereas obviously something like Star Wars or maybe Lord of the Rings, that kind of thing, is obviously a fantasy adventure that you can get lost in a world, and that's why the world was built up and the universe became what it did.
Yeah, I think it hits mythological underpinnings that are in so many different stories throughout all
good
kinds
versus
of
evil. And, yeah.
You can go to all kinds of civilizations and you'll find stories that are very similar to this. Back to the Future doesn't really touch that kind of thing, but it's a fantastic movie trilogy. I love it. I don't want to ever see it remade, and I'm glad. Zemeckis needs to stay alive forever to make sure that doesn't happen.
At least till we're dead.
Yeah,
he has to at least.
Yeah, that's right.
Until we're dead. Yeah, that'll be fine.
But so you guys want to get on with your debate?
Yeah. So
who's taking which side of what?
I think Sean's taking both sides because he loves both Star Wars and Star Trek.
Sean, you are our moderator, okay?
All right.
You are a moderator because you don't give a shit. So the I'll take the Star Trek side, and George can take the Star Wars side of who's gotten raped worse. What is that? Is that the topic on the table here?
I think it was non-consensual butt stuff was the term we agreed on in the Slack chat about what to use.
Who's been abused on the pinball table worse?
Yeah, I mean, out of and I don't think that is too strong a word because that is, I don't want to say, the whole George Lucas raped my childhood type of thing, but I mean, it is horrible the fact that there was a time when I had such a passion about Star Wars. I was saying earlier about the whole Phantom Menace and everything else when it came out, and I had to wait 6 hours to download the large real player version of the trailer just so I could see it. And I remember sort of literally watching the countdown clock come down over 6 hours so I could watch it. That passion is gone. Even with, like I say, the whole Obi-Wan thing, I am not massively looking forward to it. The whole Boba Fett series was a huge disappointment to me, as we know if you've read my reviews of it. And that's coming from somebody who was a massive Boba Fett fan since the age of 5. And so it does feel horrible what's happened to my beloved franchise of these movies that I love so much. And so that's of it, Star Wars has been quite well explained, but Yoda, explain to us what's been happening with Star Trek. Because it's all been good news, right?
Yeah. I do have another hate watch review to put up of Picard, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as your general overall feelings of Star Wars, where your passion has died, I have the same problem with Star Trek. So I think we're both agreed on that.
Round one is a draw.
Round one is a draw. I don't think there is.
I'm the one that decides. if you're
do your fucking job, Sean.
If you're going to decide these yourself, I'm just going to go and finish watching the kids.
Set the timer. Herd these cats, will you? Star Trek has. I think there is. I don't know. I'm looking at the two, and I think that we can have this in a second question or something like that, or a second discussion. But I'm looking at the two, and I feel like there is just an insane amount of derision towards everything that was Star Trek, whereas Star Wars at least puts on a veneer, and you do have some good things that I actually enjoy. I cannot name one good thing since the start of anything new Star Trek that I actually enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, going to see the movies, I've got a thing with a friend that we've seen all the movies together at the cinema, and it's kind of like our little routine, and so that was always exciting and everything else. But I remember even for The Rise of Skywalker, I was not massively looking forward to it. It was nice catching up with my mate because I'd seen him for a while, but I remember just walking out the cinema just being thoroughly disappointed with what had happened with it, and just with the.
Which one do you guys think? And I've got my own opinion on this, but which one do you guys feel that you could make a better case that the people in control of each franchise seems to hold their audience in more contempt? Because that's sort of that's a big part of it. It's
I can. Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it then.
Everything. First of all, everything that Star Trek does right now. Not only there are numerous examples of it shredding existing canon. It's incessant attempts to put in what the message, as the Critical Drinker says, with the castings and the way these people I mean, Star Trek Discovery is the most emotionally charged show I've ever seen. Everybody's crying or screaming or yelling or cursing every 5 minutes. There was never any of that in Star Trek. Never. These people were competent. They did their jobs, and they never let emotions. Even that was the joke, right? Oh, Spock, you're that unemotional guy. We need to let you loosen up. But in truth, none of these people ever let their emotions override their their sensibilities unless there was some weird outside alien force or, something just that was part of the plot, something like that.
Kirk did occasionally. If there was a woman involved.
True. But that is that lust, or is that an emotion, or is that more of a physical thing? I don't know.
Blood going from one brain to the other.
Let me put it this way: he could do all the alien women he wanted. He always put the Enterprise first.
I mean, Enterprise what he called his penis? Fire the photon torpedo.
Torpedoes fire. That puts a whole new spin on things now.
Oh, really? You want me to do that with Star Wars? Get clear, Wedge. You can't do any more good back there. Luke, at that speed, are you sure you'll be able to pull out in time?
Let's not make.
You came in that thing. You're braver than I thought.
Let's not make this vulgar, guys. Okay.
Oh no, they've already done that for us. So I mean, I can't find a show that doesn't seem to actively insult Star Trek, and none of the showrunners seem to give a shit or understand Star Trek. I can't say that about Favreau and Dave Filoni.
It's weird though that you say that one of the things that has caused the problems is this whole diversity and let's say woke, because Star Trek itself was always quite woke anyway, wasn't it? They had a black woman. No. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean it in a woke way. What I mean is
know what you mean.
Forward progression.
Yes.
That all these people could work together and there wasn't any conflicts or anything else.
The core of the idea was that people are what they are despite or irrelevant of what they look like.
Mm.
It was to show that merit and talent and skill were much more prized than skin color or alien species or any of that, right? It was about what you could do. And what Gene was trying to show, especially in the 60s, let's face it, right? That is the message that is important. Not what you look like, not what whether you're male or female, but whether or not you can do the job and you can do the job to a high level of quality. That is not the message now. It's not. It's actually 180 degrees. So when they put the people of diversity and everything in there, they're trying to say that this is far more important than what they could do. So if they're a crying baby when a Klingon attacks, you just got to deal with that. It's far more insulting, really, to the race that they're trying to elevate because of the way they portray it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Star Wars the same way. I would say you have ample evidence of that happening in Star Wars as well.
I mean, that's the thing I always come back to is the fact that the whole Forces female thing started before the movies were even made.
Yeah.
And so they had their agenda ready that, the new Star Wars character was going to be a female and she was going to be great at everything. And so that's what happened. And because of that, there was no real conflict. And the whole fact of who we were at the age we were, the fans we were, we were Luke growing up. We wanted to be Luke Skywalker. We wanted to, have the lightsaber and save the girl and beat the bad guy and everything else. And the fact that they took Luke and then I just totally emasculated him and took everything away from him and just killed him off as a second-rate character was just... It was so insulting. It felt like a personal attack because, like I say, they were pointing their finger at me and saying, "You're weak, you're rubbish, you're the cause of all the problems. Women are much better."
Do you think though that they've tried to put a little bomb on that with the having him show up in the the show from Boba Fett there? They've had to. I mean, do you not feel like that's a little bit of a, now it might be half-assed and very cynical, but you don't feel that's a little bit of an olive branch to try to...
Well, that's the thing, it's like Yoda was just saying about the people who don't respect Star Trek. In the same respect, Kathleen Kennedy and her gang didn't respect Star Wars at all, and it showed in the movies. They were terrible. But with Filoni and Favreau, they do. They respect it, and they love it, and they love that Star Wars, and because of that, they have made then a series which did incredibly well because it appealed to the fans of who they were. You know, they were Luke Skywalkers as well. They were the same kids growing up, running around with sticks, pretending they were lightsabers, and so they understood and respected what needed to be made. And then this caused that whole, I know everybody goes on about the whole Civil War thing at Lucasfilm and everything else, but it did, because Kathleen Kennedy was really angry that her female wasn't doing well, but the Mandalorian was, and he was a guy. And it's just...
Which is hilarious, because the rearing, the taking on of a child and raising it and caring for it, you know.
Well, we found out from the, you know, like I said before we started the show, from the women's swimming competition, we've learned that men are better at being women than even women. So,
well,
Caitlyn Jenner won Woman of the Year, didn't she? Like I say, yeah, she's a bloke who's a better woman than a woman.
Well, my point is, God damn it,
disavow all that. By the way,
my point is that the taking out the Mandalorian taking out a child feels like a more female centric story.
Okay.
You know, a male centric story is the guy just going out there and fighting and you know, cutting up the bad guys and flying, you know, big planes and fighters and, you know, fighting and taking care of the child is a more of a female, that's kind of centric type of story.
That's a pretty good rip off of, I won't say rip off, but that's heavily inspired from the Lone Wolf and Cub, you know, Japanese.
I'm not saying that fatherhood isn't a big deal, or that women can't, you know, Wonder Woman, some of this, that there aren't a lot of exceptions and really good exceptions to that idea. I'm just trying to boil it down to a very basic idea.
We know you think women should be in the kitchen and shouldn't be allowed to talk or do anything.
Well,
I never got the important work to do.
I just want a sandwich once in a while. I can't. I
agree. We all agree with you there.
But conversely, were Favreau and the other one, Fellini, the cowboy guy, Filoni, were they then?
Very different director.
That's a Freudian,
it's
slip.
Fellini, the famous Star Wars director.
I would love to see a Star Wars by Federico Fellini. That would be amazing. We got it. It was Flash Gordon.
Were Dave and John, were they then trying to appeal to a female audience with that whole mothering?
I don't think.
The Baby Yoda is all you need to know. Look at it and say, "Oh yeah, they're trying to
look at this. Look how cute it is. Look at his eyes."
Look, just go on the internet after the first reveal, and you're like, "Oh yeah, okay. What a cheap."
That,
you know.
maybe what, but that doesn't mean, you said it yourself with the what was it called? Lone Wolf
and Cub.
Lone Wolf and Cub. I mean, this isn't like a trope that has never been worked on before. I'm saying that, you know, it was still a great story with a heavy dose of a female centric type storyline, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not denigrating that or criticizing it. I say it can be done. What I think that Kathleen Kennedy wants is that she wants women to be men, and that they and that women sometimes have this weird idea that men, because they overcome and they are shown to have power, the Superman, the Luke Skywalker, the Batman, you know, the superheroes, whatever, they're shown to have power, that they don't have any problems. And they're missing the idea. First of all, men have a boatload of problems that nobody wants to ever talk about. And two, those stories are all about helping men overcome problems in their lives, because the heroes usually have to overcome some sort of weakness, some sort of problem, some sort of something, right?
You know, you're making George's case for him here, right? When you're supposed to be arguing for Star Trek.
No, actually, I'm making my case. I'm saying that Star Wars isn't raped quite as badly as Star Trek.
Okay.
Do you remember the time, Sean?
But it was his turn to make the. You just overtook him, and
don't make me go John Amos on you here.
All right.
If you want to be here, son, you got to stay off the drugs.
I'm letting him have a rant because I know he'll tire himself out in about 20 minutes. So whatever the argument is, then I'll win.
Default.
The two greatest words in the English language.
Take what you get. A win's a win.
I mean, it is weird though, because like I say, the Star Wars movies have been overall pretty bad. I mean, Rogue One I still think was not bad. Solo I didn't think was terrible. It's not a great film by any respect, but it's not bad. But then the TV shows have done exceptionally well because they have been left in the hands of people who are the fans. But obviously when it comes back to then Star Trek, obviously, I mean, the movies, I mean, goodness, what was the last movie that came out?
Rise of Skywalker.
It was like Insurrection? No, Star Trek.
The last movie came out was Beyond. The Kelvin universe stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, I completely forgot they rebooted that, didn't they? That's how bad. That's how bad that is. It was completely erased from my mind. But the TV series, I mean, I've not bothered with the TV series, but you've watched all of them, haven't you, Yoda?
I gave up on Discovery about halfway through season 2, and I think they just finished up season 4. And then I tried Picard. I'm seeing much of the same sentiment in it, much of the same ideas, much of the same, the way they handle things. It's kind of got the same attitudes.
And so, what do you make of the new Kirk then? Because obviously this is then taking the canon and completely using it as a canon.
Well, I'll give. I've tried to say I will give everything a shot. As bad as everything has been with Star Trek, and I'm not optimistic. These shows don't have the same showrunner throughout, even the original, when Next Gen started and DS9 and then Voyager, each one of those guys had different showrunners and they brought different writers in and different sensibilities. You can't work on all of them at the same time. So I think I liked Anson Mount as Pike in the Discovery. He was about the only thing that was watchable in that. He had that optimistic attitude. And as I understand it, the Strange New Worlds is supposed to be more like the original Star Trek or the Orville, where each episode is a little more self-contained instead of having these giant season-long arcs where it's basically one big movie. Which I appreciate, because I think these season-long arc things are starting to get...
Yeah, no, I'm completely the same with that. There are times when I just want to watch an episode. I don't want to know how it ties in with 16 episodes ago and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm the same as that.
Yeah, I always like when they do it. Kind of. Yes, there's some stuff that we will take care of at the end, and they kind of throw in an episode here and there to kind of move that storyline along. But the rest of it is just fun stuff or interesting ideas that don't have anything to do with that. I think DS9 did it great with the Dominion War. The Dominion War was the framework of the backdrop, but the rest of the episodes were pretty much self-contained. Even if when they had a 5-episode arc, each one of those arcs were very beginning, middle, and end. Each episode was as it moved along, and then tied it all together after the 5th episode or the 7th episode, whatever it was. So I mean, I feel like they did it right because they kept your attention, but they also kept things moving along. Whereas now it's just like some of these episodes, you don't feel like anything actually happened. I mean, that last Picard episode, I haven't wrote the review on it, but it was the definition of filler.
Just to pad out the story of it. It is, again, it's kind of a shame that, I mean, they've said about this whole series they're going to be doing about Cassian Andor from Rogue One, who's a character I just utterly forgettable, but I'm sure that I've read it's like a 12-season hour-long episode per thing, and I keep thinking it's 12 hours I got to sit through that. And again, it's just kind of it is different with long things. I mean, sorry, I was nearly. But it is weird how like, for example, the Batman, I found it was far too long, and I've been watching some old 80s classic sci-fis and so forth. 90 minutes, perfect. 90 minutes, absolutely. They're bang on. They tell the story. Everything's happy, and it's the same with sort of some TV shows that I've seen. I've got like The Sopranos to watch, And I want to get into it, but again, I know it's going to be a long commitment because of how many episodes and how many series and how many episodes and series it is. And again, it's making that commitment to. I do like to, if I start watching something, complete it to the end, and unless it's obviously completely terrible. And again, it's kind of with all these series, I do find it very difficult to get through them all sometimes because I know it's going to be like 8 hours that I'm going to have to sit through this whole thing to get, from the beginning to the end of it.
Well, let's. I mean, all of the Star Trek series so far have been just one long slog from beginning to end, just one big story. The Mandalorian definitely had self-contained episodes. Yeah.
I saw people online complain about that, and I thought that was a weird complaint because it's like that's the way TV shows used to be done. Not everything was a one long, comic book arc. It was.
Well, I felt that was a feature, not a bug. I mean, they did. The one thing I hated about older TV with the episodes, it was like they were almost their own self-contained universes. Like, well, what happened? Why didn't he do this from the episode before? It's like that's completely forgotten. That kind of stuff that I don't like. If you're going to do something and then maybe you reference it or it becomes a thing in later on that that the past has happened, that's the part I like. I think that's what the Orville did really, really well.
So you're saying you weren't a fan of Gilligan Island?
I was not.
I've only ever heard of Gilligan's Island. I've never seen an episode.
You're not really missing much.
No, it's just referred to on some TV programs.
I mean, if you see one or two, you've seen them all, basically. That's really, I mean, that's the truth. If you've seen one or two of them, you get it, they're all kind of.
They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, they had their, they were nice little diverting. They were fun. Some of them were funny. I think it's not aged very well, but I think the jokes about it have aged a lot better. How come the professor can make a nuclear reactor with a couple of coconuts? He can't fix the goddamn boat.
They even made some movies, believe it or not.
Too. They did. They got off the island in the movies.
Yeah. Like twice, I think they got.
Well, once they got off and they ended up back on it again, they're like, "Oh crap, the same island!" Yeah. I was waiting for gunshots and just bodies hitting the floor as they killed themselves.
And they had like a guest of the week, some famous actor or something at the time, and then they would always manage to get. They always managed
to get off the island, yeah.
But the original cast is still stuck there.
Anyway, going back on point. To programs I've never seen.
So I guess what I'm saying is I think there is hope for Star Wars because there are some people that do care about it. If you want to split it up, if you want to say saga versus ancillary properties, the saga was absolutely screwed over as hard as anything as Star Trek has.
Yeah.
I think The Last Jedi probably tops anything as far as insulting than anything they've done in Star Trek yet. I think because it is a main part of the saga. It was the first time you saw Luke Skywalker back. It was supposedly continuing the storyline that you have loved for 40 years. And it was a complete middle finger to the fans.
I guess it depends on what they do with this new Kirk.
That's true.
I'm just thinking that he's going to come out as trans and he's going to.
Turns out he was gay all along.
Yeah, and not only that, but also he, as a sideline, he runs a showgirl outfit, drag queen finalist, and all sorts. So I mean, again, they could do that, but I mean, chances are they won't. But no, I think you are right in saying that The Last Jedi is the biggest kind of insult that they could have done. Killing off Luke was
not just killing him off. I mean,
no. But I mean, like I say, just what they did with Luke. I mean, when I say killing him off, I mean, like I say, not just but like I say, the whole him giving up on everything that was to do with it was just, yeah. There was, there was.
It was a mercy killing at the end. Fine, can't hurt him anymore.
I'm just trying to think of sort of like any other ways that they could sort of do something sort of similar to that. Like you say, you know, if they literally had him out of a sex change mid-season or something like that, that would be the same kind of level.
Made him a bad guy, sort of the evil white colonizer or something like that.
Captain Jamie Kirk. I'm guessing that if he's got the captain stripes in the picture, so we'll assume that he takes over the Enterprise. So maybe that's when Pike ends up in the yes/no wheelchair, and
so
this
he was pushing down some
chairs. Is this
chairs.
its own continuity on this one?
No, it's supposed to be prime continuity.
Oh, okay.
So with it then, with the... Oh, I just had a point and I lost it again now. Damn it.
I would be okay with a faithful retelling with a couple of tweaks here and there of the original series, but now with, you know, the special effects that they can do now and the set design and everything. If they could,
that would be interesting.
That would be an interesting remake. You know, I'd be okay with that. But you know, I don't trust them to do it without insulting us.
With the Star Trek movies, then the offshoot parallel universe thing, how did you feel about those then?
So, and keep in mind, some of this is battered wife syndrome. Like I'm onto him now. In 2009, I wasn't onto him quite yet. You know.
Yeah.
So when the first Star Trek came out with the recast, I thought, it's got some problems, but it's not bad. It could, you know, I would like to see a little bit more, you know, dry science and stuff like that into it, and less, you know, people skydiving and from you know, things like that, and the weird action and I love Red Letter Media. It's like everybody's running all the time. You know, this used to be walking in the original Star. Yeah. This used to be walking. Now it's this. Everybody's running at top speed constantly.
That's a really big ship. They've got to get from one end to the other. Yeah. They've got to leg it.
Yeah, they're not turbo lifts. They're just lifts. And so, I mean, there's a lot of little details and too much flash. But I thought, okay, they seem to get the characters right. They seem to have, like, I thought Chris Pine was a good Kirk. He wasn't playing Shatner. He was playing Kirk. And I thought that was fine. I thought they went a little too much on him being a horn dog and a little too much on the surface stuff. And some of this is like, is that what I noticed then, or is that what I noticed now after having seen the next two and realized and gone through my Last Jedi punch up and all that kind of stuff, and Ghostbusters 2016 and the whole nonsense where, you know, that has blown up in the past 8 years or so. So, I mean, I thought the first one was okay, but I can't say that I go back and watch any of them now. I thought Into Darkness was terrible. The magic blood thing that was all the rage. I think Amazing Spider-Man had magic blood. There's magic blood in Edge of Tomorrow. Everything was magic blood. I don't know why.
I love magic blood.
Magic blood is amazing. It can do anything.
I'm actually 76. Magic. That's how I stay young. I mean, at least
there's like 5 children chained up in his basement, but we won't talk about that.
Not for their blood.
No. There's only 3 now. With it though, at least the characters were treated with that level of respect. In the new movies.
Well,
I mean, okay, like I say, they're not.
That's debatable.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
By Into Darkness, he was crying constantly and beating people in the face as hard as he could. I'm like going, Nimoy made it a point. Like the whole Vulcan nerve pinch was created because Nimoy said Spock wouldn't punch people. I mean, that was it. That whole canon was created. That really iconic thing was created just because Nimoy was thinking, you know what, we need Spock to take out this guy. He's like, well, I don't think he would punch people in the face. It's just not who he is. Okay, why don't we do this Vulcan thing where he gives them a nerve pinch and they fall down, and that'll be his thing because he's an alien and he's just that awesome, and he would do something.
I thought he got it from Spaceballs.
No, stupid. It's up here. But yeah, he that was the whole deal, and it like dare I say it, it was a logical idea for Spock.
Brilliant. Oh, it's brilliant.
Nailed it.
And so, it's like they don't seem to understand the character when he's crying and losing control and beating people in the face. That's was never Spock.
Well, he was younger. He's a moody teen.
Yeah, give him a break.
I mean, that's how we met him, right? He was beating up kids. He was beating people. He was beating up Kirk. He's beating up Khan. He can't stop punching people.
His whole planet got blown up. What do you want from the guy?
I will give you that if your whole planet gets blown up and everything is gone, that there may be some trauma there. But this was happening before then.
Yeah, that's true.
You give people a break over anything, don't you? God, oh, my planet blew up. So, I mean, when it comes back to it, the movies have been... Star Wars has been much more insulted than what Star Trek has. But it seems then conversely the other way round, that with the TV series they've actually tried to sort of show a little faith and respect back towards people, but the TV shows for Star Trek haven't done that.
It's kind of like the bell curve that that there's a kind of a curve where men tend to, there are more men at the edges of really smart and really stupid.
Yeah.
And women tend to be a little bit more in the middle. Not that there aren't any at the edges. I think Star Trek and Star Wars the same way. It's like Star Wars has more good stuff that you like, but it has way worse stuff in Last Jedi. Much, much, much worse. Where Star Trek just kind of all is really bad. But it's not. There's not one thing that really sticks out. You go, this is so bad. It's all just bad. But there is some good stuff in Star Wars right now. Star Wars has more extremes.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the Mando, it's funny because, I mean, the end of Mando Season 2 with the whole Luke returning, you mentioned it earlier, Sean, was pretty spectacular to see. And, I mean, I do remember that old feeling of, and just sort of, that little thrill of excitement just to sort of see that was really good. But then conversely, like you say, with the extremes, Boba Fett is somebody that I have loved my entire life, but that series was just mediocre at best.
So I put it to you. I was like, why...
Mediocre isn't insulting, though. That's the difference, I think, there. Because that was me. They just did a bad job. I don't think they were trying to, like, shit on him or make you mad or you know what I mean? Would you agree with that? Like, they weren't actively trying to destroy Boba Fett or tear him down. Well, I don't know. There was a few...
the speeder bikes, there's an argument to be made.
Well, but I think you know what I'm saying. Then.
I know what you're saying.
No. I completely get it. It was kind of like, Boba Fett is a great character. Let's make something out of him. But it didn't work. And it was just kind of, it's taking away all that mystery and intrigue. I think it was Hitchcock who said that if you've got a spy thriller where there's a spy going across the country and he's got a case and everybody's trying to get the case, never show what's in the case. Keep that air of mystery. And the same with Boba Fett. That, I mean, screen time, he only had 7 minutes or something or other in the entire movies. But I love the fact of who he was and that mystery about him. When you take all that away, it just sort of, it's just, there's nothing. It's like a magician telling you how he does his tricks.
A lot of people wanted that, though, man. Like all my life, I've always heard, we should make a Boba Fett. Ooh. Now whether or not that defeats the purpose of him being so mysterious and cool, that's a different argument. But a lot of people wanted something. So
there's a guy that should never take off his helmet.
Yeah, well, now that is one thing that they shouldn't. But anyway, I think that they tried to give people what they were demanding. Now, they did a piss poor job of it, of course. But
see, what they should have just done is made the Mandalorian Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why they didn't do that in the first place.
Because that would have cemented his character really well. and that would have.
See, to me, that shows small signs of, again, Disney running the show, that even though Dave and John are doing the job that they can, there is still people higher up who are sort of going, yeah, but and just interfering.
The Watchmen was they were originally all the Charlton comic characters that DC had just bought, right? So you had like the Question, you had Captain Atom, you had Blue Beetle and a few others, Peacemaker, I think. And once they bought them, Alan Moore wanted to adapt them into this story. And DC said, we want to use these characters, so why don't you just make up new characters? You can do the story, but we just want you to make up new characters. I really wonder if Filoni and Favreau original idea for The Mandalorian, it was Boba Fett. And that
I believe that was the case, yeah.
And that they said, well, we this is a character that's been around forever. We want to do things with him. And, there's going to have to be a lot of canon you're going to have to deal with. Let's just make a new character, which I kind of wonder if that's what happened there.
I think that's what happened. That, or there's some deal where anytime they use a legacy character, George Lucas gets some sort of like, no, for real. Like he gets some sort of like.
I know. I think you're right. I think that's a good point. He gets a kickback on all that shit. You're right.
Because think about all the characters, the original characters they killed off, or they kind of faded away, or got rid of.
Lawyers ruin everything.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those two things.
I getting back to what you were saying, George, when you talked about how you had the feelings when Luke appeared at the end of Mandalorian. And I want to ask you, it's like, well, look, don't you think that the story, you were invested in the story? Because I had just as much emotion when Mando lifted his helmet for Baby Yoda than I did seeing Luke appear. And I did enjoy seeing Luke appear because the whole thing felt like it built up to that. They were trying to find a Jedi. Remember, he had passed out on the stone and Mando couldn't get to him. And then he got kidnapped, and all the stuff that had happened. So it all felt earned. It felt like it made sense within the story as we knew it. There were no Jedi really left. So who else would show up to take Baby Yoda? It makes sense, and it all fell into place nicely. I'm just saying, I think a well-constructed story and well-constructed characters. You could do things like that. You could the nostalgia then works better because it's within the confines of. You're not subverting expectations. You're doing what you would expect, but you're doing it in a way that you're invested. With Boba Fett, or like you say that, like I watch Star Trek. It's like, oh, a data set. Oh, there's Guinan. Oh, there's Riker and Troy. I don't care about any of this because I'm not invested in any of the story. So so then it just looks cheap. I actually have the opposite reaction. Like, oh God, they're dragging them into this too.
Those poor people. Yeah, it's.
I mean, do you think that that's part of it?
I mean, like I say, the whole nostalgia thing, I'm not a fan of either. Scream 5, whatever it was, just coming out, was a complete remake of the first one. But it's just, but it's Scream and they're all great. And like I say, that the whole, I think it was, for me, what it was just bringing Luke back at the end of that I was seeing the Luke I always wanted to see. That in The Last Jedi, Luke was a wet blanket who'd given up on everything. He was completely copped out. Everything had gone wrong, so he was just not bothered, so end of story. Whereas Luke turning up and taking out that death squad of troopers and everything else was badass, and that's the Luke I wanted to see. I wanted to see Luke at the height of his powers.
But my point is that if you weren't invested in the story, if you felt insulted by the story, seeing Luke come in and do all that would have felt like just one more thumb in the eye, rather than a really good moment. That's
what I think, is that they try, whether it's out of like, oh God, we got to reverse course or we're going to lose our ass, but they seem to have at least put out an olive branch to try to give some fan service there. They know that they had to do something. Now you could argue who was responsible for it or not, but you did get something that you did like, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I got something that I liked, but I didn't. I liked it because it wasn't forced. It wasn't cheap. It was earned, and that's why I liked it. I mean, if you say, "Don't you want to see Luke fighting?" and that's all you care about, I mean, to me, that's the kind of the same mentality as going to see a fireworks show.
Well, but
I want to see bangs and booms. Big deal.
But it wasn't just like throwing him up on screen. They did put effort into making it where it was quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the quality came from the story that happened before. That had nothing to do with him.
If the story had got boring and you sort of switched off halfway through, you wouldn't have had that moment at the end of the season 2.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm saying, though. They made it a quality so that you would like it instead of just being like, oh, let's just slap anything together. Oh, these losers like Luke, put him in it. That'll satisfy these idiots.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. I'm just trying to say that this. If you bring in the old characters, but you're doing it for a story reason and for a character reason, and you're invested, then I got no problem with any of it. If it's just something to put in a trailer on a poster, which to me that's what was for Last Jedi, and an excuse to destroy him.
Eggy in the comments, who I thought was going to be on here with us today, said that when Luke showed up at the end of Mando, for me, that was some of the best TV I'd seen in a long time. I'm not an emotional person, but I cried like a little baby sissy mama's boy. It was amazing. I might have paraphrased him a little bit.
A little bit. A little bit.
That's sad to me that was the best TV you've seen in a long time when True Detective Season 1 exists. That's just sad.
I'm saying that it's definitely the best Star Wars I had seen in a long time, possibly since Return of the Jedi. In fact, absolutely since Return of the Jedi, I would say it's the best Star Wars I'd seen. I can't think of anything else.
I don't know. I do like the end of Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it's not
where he kills the kids.
No,
Fire bad.
I like when he murdered all the kids. That was the great part.
There's still that. Have you seen that robot chicken of that when Anakin goes into all the kids and they're going, "Okay, everybody, line up. I've got a present for you all." And this one little kid looks up at Anakin and going, "Can my present just be a hug?" It's so funny. It's so twisted. I gotta
interrupt you, but the one they did on Robot Chicken where he's like, "Okay, I could do this. Just go into my happy place," and he pretends that he's in a field of sunflowers, and he's just cutting down sunflowers. Come here, you, and cutting them up. And finally, they show back at the. They don't really show anything, just the room in Padme in his quarters, and she goes, "Annie, I'm home." He goes, "Oh, I put some flowers on the table for you," and you hear, "Oh my god!"
That's a good gag. What would have been really funny though is if he's like, he's imagining his happy place, and it cuts back to that scene in the other movie where he's killing all the sand people or whatever. Like he really enjoyed that,
You know what would be worse if he imagined his happy place and nothing changed. I love killing children.
Yeah, they're even younger.
Yeah, they're babies.
Yeah.
What was the point we were trying to make before we went off point now?
No idea.
I think it was.
I said it was the best Star Wars since Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I see. No, I mean, some of the fight at the end of there was pretty good, but then it was also far too drawn out, and then, like I say, the whole Vader no thing is just, oh dear, it's awful. Almost as awful as Lucas putting the no over Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi in the special editions.
Yeah, I thought that was a very touching moment. What are you talking about?
Oh, it was.
Did you tell a judge where it touched you?
All over. He touched me on my lightsaber. And so no, like. Yeah, it probably was the best Star Wars moment, I think. Like I say, because there was nothing in the sequel movies that was... I know a couple of people have said, I still don't get this. The whole bit where Poe at the end is giving up and basically saying, we're all screwed, we're all going to die. And then all the other ships turn up and everybody going, oh, what a great Star Wars moment. And all I kept thinking was, how did they fly through that little wormhole? because we've seen that little wormhole was tiny, and Kylo's ship could barely get through it. And
I actually laughed out loud. There were so many ships. I mean, so many that it was comical. I was like, is this a parody? There's not that many. I was laughing. I was like going, this.
Don't forget the horses on the Star Destroyer.
Was there really?
I'm not gonna lie. When this is at the beginning of all this nonsense, and I hadn't gotten completely jaded yet. When when the Force Awakens, when they ran to the Millennium Falcon, I'll admit I was fooled. I fell for it. I was going, yay, like a little kid. And now I look back on it, it's like that was all just cheap garbage. And they fooled me then, and I'm not, now it's the point you're not fooling me anymore, to the point that I don't give enough stuff a good enough shot, because I'm so jaded and cynical and ready for something to be insulting, which is like, I don't want to watch stuff like this.
It's funny because, I mean, I was thinking about doing a video on the very subject of, we are presented these days with so much crap. On TV, the Kardashians have had 17 series, and people seem to think that's entertainment.
Have they really? 17 seasons?
It's a stupid amount of number, but I mean, with it, people think that that's what entertainment is. Watching these moronic airheads doing whatever it is they do, and I just think
you're talking about this show right now.
Not airheads. We're actually very intelligent. I was going to say young men then, but that's delusional. But
Sean, I guarantee you, we've had far deeper discussions in any one of these shows than there's ever been on 17 years of the Kardashians.
But with it, when people are then presented with something which is still crap, like The Last Jedi, but it's kind of like it's better crap than they usually get, then they kind of think, oh yeah, no, I actually quite liked it. And it's just, the whole drop of entertainment these days, it's so unusual to see something which is new and fresh and original. It's almost insultive to people's intelligence.
Yeah, that's why manga and anime are doing so well right now. It's killing, the American comic book industry and all this stuff.
Needs to die the way they're writing them these days.
Because it's like, it's not, first of all, it's not woke. It's not crap. It's not, hey, remember this? And it's doing great, man. People have got that to go to. That's where else do they got? Every once in a while something comes out of the system, pretty.
I think that's good as well, though, because you do get, like with, I mean, with some of the manga animations and anything else in the past, like Akira and things like that, it is kind of, what the hell is that about? Whereas with Hollywood, it's got to be very much, okay, we need to have a narrative, and we need to have the good guy with the bad guy, and then we need to have them do this, and it's kind of, whereas not Akira, but like Spirited Away, you think of how utterly bizarre that movie is, because they just kind of like, oh right, and then her parents turn into pigs, and then there's a dragon, and
not even a Japanese story really. That's from some kid's book too, from some like Romanian or something, but no,
but it's great because it's like I've said about A24 in the past, that with an A24 movie, I just don't know what I'm going to watch. I don't know what I'm going to see.
You know what? Ever since you said that, I've started noticing how many movies I've watched in the last couple of years that I like that were from them, and I'd never paid. I'd not noticed. I was like, man, that is a very nice wide range of stuff.
And like you say, it's great because I go back to the whole thing about Bond. With Bond, pretty much what you're going to get with a Bond. There's a good guy, there's a bad guy, there's going to be some gadgets, there's a car chase, there's a hot girl. And, okay, the last Bond kind of broke the mold on that a little bit, but you kind of know what you're going to get with them. Whereas with A24, I've sat down with a couple of their movies and no idea. And it's been complete. Red Rocket I watched recently. Very bizarre movie, just following the story of a guy just trying to make his way through his life. But it was brilliant, and I absolutely loved it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because I just didn't know what to expect from it, and that just makes it all the better.
That's two different kinds of movies to me, though. Like, there's the kind of movie that it's familiar, you like the tropes of it. Last week, Yoda was talking about not liking like Friday the 13th and stuff, and there's a certain there's a certain kind of appeal to certain fans, like, oh, I like that trope, I want that. But then, of course, you want stuff that is surprising you too. You don't want that from everything. Like you settle in to watch Friday the 13th because you want to watch, the same, basically the same thing with different keels. But the James Bond, I think, is like that. Like you said, those things, you want those high points hit to feel like you're watching a James Bond. But that's why you watch it, right? You want to see him do some big flashy thing at the start, and then he's got his expensive watch and car and blah 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 blah.
I want to see him get emasculated by a black diverse female Bond. That's what I tune in for.
Hey, I've got some good news.
I always like the fact that she had to give up her job so he could have it back and her name and his name and stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't think that through, I don't think.
I had a very funny comment for that, but it would get us kicked off of YouTube if I said it. I luckily stopped myself in the nick of time.
Let me ask you guys something. I was trying to think of this, like movies, TV shows, everything back in the day, up until the 90s or the early 2000s. You could not do the things. You could not make it look the way you wanted because we just didn't have the technology in various forms, right? We didn't have the computers. We didn't have, even with set design, I mean, there's only so much you could do. We didn't have LED lights. You had, little, flashlights and things like that, And certainly you didn't have the digital cameras that we have now. You could get a very good looking picture with a little bit of tweaking and make it look like a very high dollar film camera from back in the day. So now I don't think there's any, well, I'll ask you: is there any disputing that all of these movies look good? They all have great special effects, and they all have great craftsmanship, and they all look really, really good. Even Star Trek show these days and all that, they all look great.
To a point, yes and no, because it's like the problem with CG is when CG works, it's brilliant, but when it doesn't, it's terrible. And I mean,
I'm sure we could find some examples where it looks bad or where it's not done right. But I mean, in general, the quality of the look of the productions,
in general, yes, absolutely,
are far.
But then conversely, see, I'm Lord of the Rings is one that springs to my mind. I like Peter Jackson's early stuff. I like Meet the Feebles and Bad Taste and those sort of movies. I thought they were great. The Lord of the Rings, the problem that I had with a lot of them is how back in the day, let's think of like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. There was like the money shot where he fires his arrow, and then there's a big CG arrow which the camera follows and splits the other one.
That's
and you
not
sort
the
of
kind of money shot that I'm used to seeing.
Yes, well, clear your own browser history on that one.
No, he's talking zombie movies. He likes to watch the guys getting torn to pieces. You get your mind out of the gutter. He's not
George, don't be vulgar.
Right, but with it, you had that like one shot, which kind of. Whereas now, I don't know, thinking of like maybe like one of the Fast and Furious. I think somebody starts an engine and it follows the electrical current down through the engine, and then you go through the pistons, and to me, it's just like, whatever.
I get what you're saying, George. I'm trying to the point that I'm trying to make is not specific moments or whether
he
or not
means production. He just means production
just
value.
General production value is far and away looks much higher quality than anything we ever had back in the day. And my theory is, or at this point, is that, and the reason why I'm asking this is because of what you said. You say you get something marginally better, like Last Jedi, we think it's the best thing ever. Is special effects now and production value, is that become just propaganda? Yeah. Like to fool you into thinking that this is a quality piece of entertainment?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That if it looks, I mean, it's like that new Lord of the Rings. The production value looks incredible, but I am not in any way, shape, or form looking forward to the fact of how unbelievably
you couldn't make a TV show like Game of Thrones or Star Trek Discovery, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's not possible. Not the way they do it.
It works even better on the small screen too, man, because you don't have.
Say again.
I said I think it works even better on television series too than it even does in the movies. Like you said, the stuff pulled off on Game of Thrones the good seasons, it was amazing. You know, I don't think it would look as good on the big screen because then you'd have, you know, it would be too high, you know, too rendered too high def or something.
You see people say, "I love Captain Marvel." Captain Marvel is an objectively awful movie, right? But it made billions. I'm guessing partially because it was in between Infinity War and Endgame, and people want to see the next part. But people, you know, I saw more than enough people talk. I see on Twitter people just extolling the virtues of Discovery and talking about how awesome Discovery is, how awesome Picard is, and everything like that. It's like, how can you be a Star Trek fan with any real understanding of the property and like this?
Yeah,
I mean, just
that's
objectively,
what I think of The Last Jedi and stuff.
Yeah, so, and I'm thinking, and it's kind of like the same mentality that I hear. It's like, I don't like watching stuff in black and white. It's so old. Yeah, to me, it's kind of the same mentality.
It's weird you say about I was going to say about the quality of stuff, because recently I watched in 4K, funny enough, Belfast by Kenneth Branagh, which is about Kenneth Branagh.
Like Juicy Smollett.
Exactly. Is that the way he wants to say it now, or is that just your?
Oh, apparently, I heard somebody say it once, and it just always made me laugh. But the film itself, the opening sequence is set like in a modern day Belfast, and then you focus on this wall with some graffiti, and as it goes up, it goes to the past of 1969, I think it was. It was a time when there was conflict in Northern Ireland, but the film.
There was conflict there. What are you talking about?
There was
get on really well. Yeah.
Is that why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day now? Because that conflict ended?
Let's just say there was some scallywags there. Yeah. But with it, the film was done in 4K and it was pristine. But for me, it really took the edge off what he was trying to do, that the film looked too perfect. We're comparing that to like Licorice Pizza.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah, that's a good...
You know, that looked like it was shot in the 70s on film. And I don't know whether, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson did shoot on 35mm or did do it in digital and then did it in post. But, like I say, for me, Belfast really took that edge off because it looked too pristinely clean. And it was such a shame. Whereas if he just added that bit of dirt and grit to it, it would have made it a much better movie.
I'm a big fan of that too, like the seeing film grain and stuff like that in movies from the 80s and 70s. And even when they make like a new, you know, 4K restoration, I really appreciate that it still has that in it. I like it. I guess it's like these, you know, up their own ass people like, oh, it sounds better on vinyl. I guess
I was right. I was thinking that same thing. Yeah.
I guess I'm the film equivalent to that. But certain kinds of film, certain kinds of film, it works just like on Licorice Pizza, you know. Now, going back to that, the CGI effects, it works really well. I think that's when I like it the best, is when it's recreating a time period like that, or from Zodiac, Fincher's Zodiac, where he set in the 70s in San Francisco and stuff, and you know, he recreated the whole look of everything. That's when it's at its best, I think.
It's a great tool. I don't have any problems with CGI or great special effects. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't use them anymore. I'm saying
I know that
they put in such great special effects to fool you into thinking you're watching something good.
Or the special not everything in your entertainment news.
but the difference
last week was unbelievable.
The difference is, Phil,
it was like you were in Gotham.
No, the difference between my special effects and their special effects is mine are objectively terrible, and so I have to rely on my script and my talent.
I think
I'm really screwed.
When they sell the movie, especially when they sell the movie on, you know, being a special effects spectacle, that's when you know you're getting, you know, indoctrinated. It's a style, more or less.
Again, it's funny because I mean, one of the categories I follow on Twitter is cinematography, and every now and then somebody posts something up of, you know, we can all agree that the cinematography in The Rise of Skywalker was amazing, and it's like, I don't watch a film. Yeah, I don't watch a film to think to myself, well, that was just beautiful. I mean, it just looked amazing, you know. What's the story about? don't know, but the photography was fantastic. You know, I mean, just because something looks beautiful doesn't make it any good. Like Paris Hilton.
Certainly, cinematography can aid in the storytelling. If I'll talk about like Green Knight,
Dune.
Yeah,
Dune. Yeah, another one.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, certainly the cinematography is a necessary component. It just feels like, they got all these technical aspects in place, and they're like, what about the script? They're like, script? Oh, shit.
Yeah, no, wait.
I got a napkin here. Christ, let me get going.
So I'm going to give my verdict here on you guys, on your argument, because we're getting close to the end.
Who and my verdict is
worst? You're both fucking nerds. Now the real verdict,
I knew that was kind.
The real verdict though is Star Trek, hands down, I think has gotten screwed over the most. It just everything because man, it just everything about it is insulting to the fans. They don't offer any kind of like, I don't know. There's no like, just like the Mandalorian. There's nothing like that really. I think it's just not garbage. I think, and there's so many. I just see the fans of it. Guys, you two commented like it just. Now, that's not the belittle.
I'm angry at the Mandalorian now.
No, that's not the
Star Wars is on life support. Star Trek is dead.
Yeah, Star Wars still has they try a little bit. You do get the TV shows that people seem to like. At least the Mandalorian, and that might, and it might be just that little cunt hair that keeps them apart. Is the Mandalorian? That's really could be it.
I'll throw in the Bad Batch. I really like the Bad Batch. I think it's got some interesting ideas.
Oh, no, see, I've not been able to watch any of the animated series.
That's fine. And that I'll say is more of a taste kind of thing. But is it a terrible series? Is it insulting? Is it?
Oh no.
No, it's well done. I like it. I mean, then it's more about a taste sort of thing, which that we can argue. Those are the fun arguments. We can't have those fun arguments anymore.
George, really, you lost the argument as soon as Stacey Abrams made an appearance on Star Trek. There was never any real hope.
No going back.
There's no hope from that, really.
Who? I don't know.
It was a trump card.
You're better off not knowing.
Okay.
Really, and nobody in the audience wants to live it anyway.
Oh man, see, I miss all this stuff. I miss politics. Maybe I should get into politics.
No,
you should run for governor.
That probably wouldn't be that difficult over here. Oh no, actually, no, I wasn't born in Eton, so no, that's no good.
Yeah. Well, run for king.
Right? Yeah. Kill the queen. And then wait a minute, you don't have to run. You just have to take over, right? That's how you do it.
He has to physically run. Get it on his legs. He has to jog all the way up to Buckingham.
Oh yeah, no.
There's a lot of exercise involved. So
have to go out in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like too much hard work.
This is why they don't overthrow the monarchy. This is why. It's just too damn lazy.
Yeah. I've got to have my tea. Oi, where's my tea? Fancy.
Gosh,
fancy.
It was like Sean was in jolly old England then.
That's my imitation of Dean's accent. Very, polished.
And I do apologize for my Emperor Palpatine impression, by the way.
I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
So okay then. So unfortunately, yes, it seems that Star Trek has won on this occasion. Hopefully,
that's the only thing it's going to win.
Star Wars. You can do better.
So listen, before you move on or whatever you want to talk about, I don't care. But I really was hoping that we'd have time to talk about that guy's list of the top '90s movies that he did.
Let's do that.
Site.
Sure. Let's do that.
There's a couple on there I could quibble with, but I thought he had a pretty good list. If one of you guys could pull it up to read off or something.
No, not Rand News. Oh, there's so many good stories to browse through here on thelastmovieoutpost.com. I can hardly find it.
I'm bursting with enthusiasm every morning when I wake up to see what's new on my favorite movie-related news website.
There we go. 25 greatest movies in 1990.
No, it seems like a bunch of hacks.
Okay, so let's go down. So he's got Toy Story, Lion King, Matrix, Terminator, Boys in the Hood. So 25 was Boogie Nights.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, you went too fast there, man.
Let's quibble about a couple of these.
I got some bones to pick on there too.
Toy Story, yes, it's great, but it just missed, and it isn't as great as parts 2 or 3. I do think part 2 is better than part 1, but but you can't deny Toy Story's significance to all this, and it is still a legitimately great movie. I don't know, not in the top 25 seems like a kind of a, I guess it depends on whether it's just your pure enjoyment or more extraneous details.
Never seen any of them.
What the hell?
Yeah, I've never seen.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen any of them.
Man. See, for me, Toy Story 3, I still remember, I hate myself for this, but I still remember we had a bunch of friends went to see it, and there's a whole moment where they're going down into this furnace, and I just remember sat there crying and thinking to myself, why am I crying at this stupid story? You know, it's about a bunch of toys.
You and Aggie crying your little eyes out at Toy Story and Luke Skywalker.
But it was so. Again, you're so invested in the story of the characters. It is brilliantly done. Toy Stories 1, 2, and 3 are fantastic.
I've never heard anything bad about them.
I'll tell you, number 2 when they have I forget who the singer is singing the song, and it shows chronicles. Yeah, and it just is beautiful. And she finally she's just stuck under a bed in dust, and then finally they take her out. She thinks she's gonna get played with. Finally again, just leaves her in a box by the side of the road. I'm like, oh my god, just kill me.
Have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen that internet meme where it says the guy's like, if I was the kid in Toy Story, I'd jerk off all over the female's face, and he said that I would just leave her. And he said they couldn't wipe it off because then they would give away that they were real, and so you'd all have to just sit there and look at her, and she couldn't do nothing about it.
They did do that in Robot. They kind of did that in Robot Chicken. Where Andy was a teenager, he brings a girl over. He's like, I got something. He picks up the Buzz Lightyear and turns him into a bong. Buzz comes down, half his head is gone, you know. They're like, hello, Woody. Poop, 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 poop. That's a funny word.
Back on track.
So Terminator 2 not on the list is a travesty.
Yeah, that was absurd. That was absolutely absurd. The guy, it calls into question his taste on anything else. But anyway, let's move on.
Actually, saying that, do you know what? I completely agree with that. Terminator 2 is it's cinema.
Don't you say
legend.
It. Oh, well, I thought you were going to trash talk it.
Oh no! Goodness me, no! You know, it's one of those movies which it's beyond cult status. It's an incredible piece of work.
It kicked off the night. I mean, it kind of kicked off the 90s. You know, it set the tone that was never quite matched in my opinion.
I thought that was Hook. No.
No, sorry. That's another masterpiece snub by the Academy.
I like Hook, but I'm well aware of its deficiencies.
Yeah.
I wouldn't admit to that myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Not on the live anyway.
Kind of got a soft spot for it. I don't know. It's got some good moments in it.
That's the whole reason that he killed himself, you know, is he watched that again and was like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Okay, so Boogie Nights.
Masterpiece.
It got dark real quick.
Masterpiece.
Also, one more. The Matrix not on the list. Also a
travesty. It's stupid. Yeah, that's retarded. He says because the other movies, you know, took it down. You can't do that, though. You can't go back and retroactively say, oh, it wasn't good in the 90s because the ones that come after it were crap.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a film.
Everything. You would stop liking everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hollywood would eventually ruin everything for you. The Matrix was one of those films. Was one of those films that had imperfection in it, but it was so close to perfect. I mean, it changed everything.
Just so different, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's an incredible piece of work. So yeah, okay, so Toy Story, Lion King, even really as well, because I mean, Lion King is very, you know, is one of those films which is very good. Matrix and Terminator 2. Yeah, so let's go down to the rest of the list.
I can forgive Lion King. It's great, but I can forgive not.
I always like the bit in Lion King when somebody said, whenever they sing the Circle of Life, I bet the zebras are thinking, yeah, it's great, isn't it? Circle of Life.
You know the guy.
You lot eat us.
You know the guy that did a lot of the vocals for that is the dude that was the lead singer of Toto, who is also the son of the dude that does the Star Trek or the Star Wars music.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Oh, okay. 25, Boogie Nights. 24, Usual Suspects.
I don't think that one's that good. I mean, I know
I did watch it again recently, but for me, it's still tarnished by the whole Bryan Singer thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then throw a dollop of Kevin Spacey on there, and you've got a real shit show of a movie, don't you?
It's a pervert cornucopia.
Yeah. Usual Suspects is, I think, a great movie, but it suffers from the once you've been through it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anywhere near the same impact.
I agree.
You can watch it twice. Once you know where it goes, then you watch it a second time to see all the nuances, and then it's kind of
it's like the Sixth Sense. It's the first time you see it's amazing. Second time you're like, oh, I see it, and then after that you're like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Agreed.
23, Jackie Brown.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's good. It's really good.
I keep wanting to fill in my missing Tarantino movies. I know that's one of them, but just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Very 70s exploitation. You'll like it.
Lone Star.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
I've never heard of that. Yeah. So it should not be on the list.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
If Yoda hasn't heard of it, it doesn't belong on the list. So
yeah.
These are the rules. I don't make them up.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Weirdly, the most rewatchable movie.
Very weird that it is one of the most rewatchable comedies ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never gets a perfect movie, I would argue.
I would definitely put this on the list. What about you, George?
Yeah, I saw it again last year when I was doing my 1,000 movies, and it was all right, but that was kind of. It's not the kind of film I'd revisit very often.
I think you should revisit because it gets better on rewatches. It legit does. I think you have to watch it at least twice on this one.
All right. Oh, yeah.
Especially
maybe
when you start thinking, how long was he actually in this loop?
Yeah. The Big Lebowski.
Fantastic.
A great movie that was underappreciated at the time.
One of the few I could say, one of those ones I could say I actually saw in the theater.
She's my special lady friend, man.
Yeah.
She's not my lady friend. She's my special lady friend. Not my girlfriend. She's my special lady friend. How's the smut business, Jackie?
The movie where Jeff Bridges never actually finishes a complete sentence and probably gets hit in the head more than any other movie I've ever seen.
And then plays the same character from then on.
Yeah. Well, until he did
True Grit.
Rooster Cooke. Then he became that guy.
Yeah.
19, Braveheart. The best Australian Scottish accent I've ever heard.
Somebody commented on the website, it's like, it's not very historically accurate, though. It's like, hey, man, nobody watches this shit because it's historically accurate. You watch it because it's Mel Gibson cutting a man's head off with a giant sword.
It's one of those films, it's too long. There's
a case that could be made for that, but I think it belongs on the list for sure.
I am totally indifferent to that movie. I think I've watched it twice, and I kept wondering what the big deal was. It was fine, but the
violence.
I guess.
At the time there was some very graphic, realistic violence.
Say, I'd rather watch.
How can you not like watching men in skirts?
I don't know. There's more violence in Highlander. What's the problem here? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I don't get why. Like, I'm not saying it's a terrible movie or a bad movie. I just don't get why people have such a hard on for it.
Don't get me wrong. I don't own a copy of it. If that probably is a.
So it's not it's not at the top of your list.
Then. No, I would not put it on that list. It's a good movie, but I would not put it on. I mean,
it's one of those. I was going to say I'd watch it if it was on TV. I'd sit down and probably watch it again. But yeah, I wouldn't go on my way to see it again. 18, Ed Wood. Now,
absolutely.
This, I think, is
a
brilliant.
masterpiece.
Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. I grew up on that Plan 9 from Outer Space, and so seeing Johnny Depp playing him, and just the way it was done is fantastic work.
Ed Wood is one I didn't see until only a few years ago. I never really watched it before. I think Red Letter Media did a review on it, so I decided to watch it. And
I do own a copy of that, I should say, too.
I started to see the nuances in it, some of the hilarity, and I've watched it a couple of times, and it's one of those that is, I'm having to catch up with the rest of you, but it's growing on me a lot. I do love the scene where he's in the phone booth and the guy is just basically tearing the movie to shreds. And he's just so cheerful. He's like, well, next time we'll do better. The guy's basically just taking an act to his entire life, He's like,
it's wonderful the way he was just so passionate about doing it, even though he had absolutely zero talent for it.
I thought one of you told me that it was legit your favorite movie because of that. Was it not one of you guys?
It may have been. I love that scene, and I've only watched it a few times, and like I said, it's one of those I'm coming to love. I should say I love it, but I've only recently started loving it because I never saw it before.
It's great, man.
I'd put it in my top maybe 20 or 30 movies of all time. I think it's fantastic.
It's good.
Now, 17, which we're not supposed to talk about, but Fight Club. 17?
Is this the Chinese version?
Yeah, that's the best version. I don't want to.
That's the best one.
That's the only version that goes on the list.
No, we start Pirate Datan.
Yes, Val.
With
we're almost to World War III right now. You're gonna anger the
China though.
Yeah, I think that's the worst part about the movie is at this point in human history, I'm kind of watching this movie going, maybe Tyler's got a point.
Yeah, obviously that's why it's so popular now is because that it's much like Ted Kaczynski. People are like, maybe he wasn't.
I think Fight Club. Yeah. I think Fight Club is an absolute masterpiece. It belongs in the top 3 of the list of the 90s movies.
Here's one that, knowing the twist, doesn't detract from the movie at all. No, I mean, seriously.
I did not see it coming. I did not see it coming.
I didn't.
I didn't either the first time. But I mean, rewatchability doesn't hurt that you know it.
Yeah,
doesn't hurt it at all.
Oh yeah, makes it a little better somewhat.
I did not see that the end coming on that. That was quite the twist for the English person. 15, Unforgiven.
We missed one.
Oh, did I? No, I didn't. I said JFK.
Did you?
No, you didn't. I didn't hear you say that.
You just talked about Fight Club. Then you went on.
Oh, sorry. When you said about the twist at the ending, that's what I was talking about with JFK. The twist at the end, I did not see that coming. The guy got shot? No way.
A president got shot.
Oh, right, yeah.
You said twist, and it's by Oliver Stone, and I'm thinking Oliver Twist.
No, right. So, yeah, sorry. 16, JFK.
I don't think that belongs. I hate Oliver Stone, and I don't like.
I don't think I've ever seen it, or if I have, I don't remember it.
It's just
the whole magic bullet theory is just complete horse shit. If you done any research into it at all,
it's pure. It's beyond Alex Jones level of tinfoil hat bullshit.
Oswald was a dumbass commie who shot the guy and was a loser.
Simple as. Move on to the next one.
15, Unforgiven.
Great movie.
Masterpiece.
Yeah, great movie. Probably one of the best westerns ever.
I think this definitely.
Excuse me, The Three Amigos.
80s. That's 80s.
Yeah, and I said one of. I didn't say.
We're doing 90s movies. That's an 80s movie.
Yeah.
Okay. 14, Fargo.
Great movie.
It's not something I've seen in a long time. I need to revisit it.
It's pretty good, man. It's a straight up crime, Coen Brothers like dark comedy. It's good.
You know what's weird is about that movie, and this is not at all a criticism. In fact, I think it's the movie's credit is that it never really builds up to a climax. It just everything just kind of happens, but it really works in this movie. I don't know how to explain it.
One that I actually watched recently because I haven't seen it for a long time is number 13, Jurassic Park. And it is brilliant.
It's a shit movie.
Really?
No. It's
I mean, there are holes in the plot, which are kind of. But overall, it's just one of those films. The direction by Spielberg is absolutely, it's perfection.
I really was indifferent to that movie until a month or two ago. Yoda was talking to me about. Maybe we weren't even on stream yet, but he explained some things to me. I was like, oh, I see it now. It's like I appreciate some things about it I thought were dumb.
There's a lot of underpinnings in the movie about fatherhood, right? Or parenting in general, but fatherhood in particular. And there's a lot of imagery in there. Specifically, I think the one I was telling you about is how they find the eggs. You find cracked open eggs, broken eggs, and you find all the footprints running away from the nest, right? And then in the movie, later on, you see Ellie coming to the broken car that had fallen out of the tree, clearly cracked and broken, and there's the footsteps of Alan and Tim going away from the car. So there's a lot of little moments like that, all over in the movie.
I think it's the last magical film that Spielberg did.
I agree.
Hollywood.
Absolutely.
I feel like 75 through 93 was the golden age of modern movies, so to speak. And 93 was the last one. And then it got stupid in 96 with Twister and Independence Day.
I always liked it. The thing that I always remember in Jurassic Park is Wayne Knight and how what's his name, Richard Hammond, not Richard Hammond, whatever, it's John Hammond, who owned it. We spared no expense apart from hiring one IT guy.
Yeah.
Number 12, Seven.
Another great movie.
Again, it's just one of those films that you know what's gonna happen, but it is so beautifully done. With the music and the
city, the city's so oppressive and grimy, and it's great.
You feel uncomfortable watching it because you feel like cold and
never stops rain. Yeah, never stops raining until the end.
Yeah.
So my problem is that I didn't see Seven when it came out. I saw it again much later, and at that point there had been so many. I don't want to say copycats, but
what's in the box?
Yeah. Well, no, not even that. I'm talking about movies that kind of tried to ape what Seven did,
Right.
So when I finally watched Seven, I felt like it was overrated because I'm like going, this is just another one of those that, and I'm not giving it its due credit of being the first one that did that, but that's a problem sometimes when some of these things get done.
For sure.
It's the same, funny enough, like when. What I was going to say, when the Simpsons do parody sometimes, I can't watch The Shining and then the blood's coming out the door. Oh, that's unusual. Blood usually gets out on the second floor.
Yeah.
Those things are in your head and they kind of just detract from it a little bit.
If you don't see it when it comes out, if you don't see these things at their peak and you revisit them later, I think it shows, I don't know if it shows some cracks in the movie or if it's just, like maybe if I had seen it 20 years from now when, it's no longer and it. But even I would have saw all this other shit. So I
saw it on the theater in the theater with a date. Absolutely going in cold. I had not heard nothing about it and was very blown away.
I can imagine.
Because I didn't know what I was even getting in. Did chick drug me to it? I was like, oh, and she just wants to see it because Brad Pitt's in it, so I got to see him for 2 hours and feel like I'm ugly compared to this fucking guy. But it was completely engrossing.
Number 11. Before you move on, I just think it's interesting how certain movies, if you don't see them at the right time or whatever, they detract from your enjoyment. And this was one of them for me. I don't know. Is it that? So then you start going, well, is it really that good? I mean, if you can't see it at any time because of all the ripoffs and it doesn't impact you the way it impacted everybody else, then I kind of question it. Is it really that good or not?
It's pretty good, man. I mean, even going back and rewatching it, I'm still just as captivated as I am, especially knowing that Kevin Spacey,
because you had that experience,
and mainly because Kevin Spacey's playing his real world self in it.
He's not even acting. They just turned up with a camera and followed him around.
Oh, come on, Sean. He doesn't cut their heads off. He just rapes them.
Number 11, Saving Private Ryan. Now, again, I've seen this twice maybe, but I've not been.
You remember how angry I made everybody in the comments when I said that how stupid the end of Saving Private Ryan was a few months ago? Not just blowing the bridge and leaving, and they all got like, "Have you never heard of Honor and Duty?"
I think Saving Private Ryan is an amazing, fantastic film, and I love America.
Yeah.
I should probably watch it again, I suppose. I think the first time I watched it, the issue that I had with it is I did think it was a bit bloody stupid that there was like Tom Hanks and his troop were trying to find Ryan so that he could go home. And I kept thinking, that seems like a bit of a waste of time. Maybe they should, shoot Germans instead. and so
there was a real story about four brothers who got killed all at the same time, and
so I think somebody
a huge deal back in the day.
Yeah, there actually two. There's two. There's some that got killed they all died on a boat in the Navy, and then on D-Day there was 4 of them and they thought 3 of them died, and they sent one of them home, and he was in the 101st Airborne Division. But it turned out that his brother, one of the brothers there was one of the 3 presumed dead actually turned out not to be dead. But at the time, they did not know that, and it was a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, the point of the movie is the cost of war, how it,
Well, I was going to say one thing I do remember is my grandfather was at the Normandy landings.
Nobody cares about what your grandfather did in World War II, George.
Dude, just listen to this out. He used to drive
He
the
had
boats.
a hot dog stand. What's the problem?
He was one of the Germans was the thing he was going to... That's the twist. He was one of the Germans. He loved to talk about...
You're going to feel really bad now because he was one of the people that used to drive the boats up to the beach and watch everybody get mown down by machine guns, and then used to have to go back and take more there. So just to take the edge off those jokes... All right, but I do remember
take the edge off of that joke. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
he probably loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure he was the guy in the boat going, "Glad that's not me."
Yeah, better
time
you
to
than
go
me.
get another sack of meat.
That is one of my favourite jokes. Of actually, my grandfather died in Auschwitz. He fell out of a machine gun tower. Number 10.
Oh, that is a good. I'm saving that one for my own repertoire later. Thank you for that, George.
So, number 10, Silence of the Lambs. Now, I was disappointed with this because there was no sheep in it at all.
Well, they don't need them. They're silent.
Shaun the Sheep.
You don't need to show them anyway. They're silent. So it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. It's the ending is so great with the night vision thing and the claustrophobia. Real neat examination into madness. Sean, you have severe mental and emotional issues. What did you think of how this portrayed that sort of thing?
Hit very close to home.
You've eaten a man's liver with a bottle of Chianti, haven't you?
No, I'm more of wear a woman's skin for
right. Okay.
For a jacket.
And you get the best joke in Clerks 2 where he's standing outside with his dick tucked in.
Yeah.
Wild horses.
Number 9, The Hunt for the Red October.
Absolutely great movie.
I see, again, I've watched it, but I can't... There's a submarine in it and Sean Connery.
I think that this might be one of those that cultural differences might not make it good for you in this case.
I watched it once and I haven't watched it since, and it's kind of one I remember liking it. I just for some reason never felt need to go back to it. So
yeah, I mean this one depends on how much you like military themed movies and stuff like that. I'm just like
we're talking to the ammo-sexual, aren't we?
Right.
Yeah.
Like Commando, those kinds of movies. So you want
this one
real accurate.
No. It, I don't know, man. It's a great movie. It's universally loved by everybody that I know that has real taste in films. So,
and then, so number 8, The Shawshank Redemption.
I gotta pull this dagger out first. Put these.
I like The Green Mile better than I like Shawshank Redemption.
Bullshit.
I'm telling you the truth.
Shawshank far superior. You have any magic bees coming out of a big giant.
It is a very compelling story about the human condition, but I agree it's a masterpiece movie. But I like The Green Mile better because I like that fantastical element in.
There is that.
I do like Green Mile. I just can't take it quite as seriously as I do Shawshank. I think Shawshank really hits it perfectly.
Yeah.
Can I do a prison joke?
Yes, please.
Oh God.
No, you'll like this. I mean, it's not funny, really, but I was
raped.
I was raped.
That kind of build up.
Let me get it out. I was raped in jail It's just my dad used to take Monopoly really seriously.
Man, we've hit all of the LMO high points today. Nazis, killing the and getting prisoners.
And just to keep up the laughs, number 7, Schindler's List.
Oh, my favorite comedy.
I hate you both so much.
Schindler's List again is it's a masterpiece work.
Move on from that one, or we'll
okay. Right, number 6 then. This is a film I have never been able to finish because it's dull as dishwater. Dead Man with Johnny Depp.
I've never seen it.
I've never heard of it.
I've tried watching it twice and it's so boring. Jim Jarmusch, I think is the director, and I cannot get into his stuff at all. It's pretentious crap. Not me at all. Maybe let's try again. Number 5, Pulp Fiction. Great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I still love it. I find new things in it every time. It's one of those that works on has enormous repeat value and has just great moments.
So what are your thoughts then on what's in the briefcase?
What's in the briefcase? You know what? That's one of those things that I don't want to know.
I do.
I know. I mean, I like.
You must have heard the fan theory of what it is.
Yeah.
I may not. Go ahead and tell
us. His
soul.
Well,
apparently it's Marcellus Wallace's soul.
Oh, right. Yeah, I have heard that. I never really thought of it. I've got to be honest with you that way. I just like the. I don't know. Maybe it's the vignette style or something, but they all kind of tie together. It's almost done like what's the guy who did Batman? Well, I can't remember names anymore. The guy who did the Dark Knight trilogy.
Nolan.
Christopher Nolan. It had a Christopher Nolan-esque kind of, out of order kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And when it's funny, it is just like when he blows that guy's brains all over the back windshield.
Oh God.
That is just laugh out loud funny.
That whole vignette too, and then Quentin Tarantino himself plays a great part in that acting. To me, it's the best part, the most entertaining part of the movie.
For me, it's Bruce Willis when he's picking out the weapons.
Yeah, that's a good part. Yeah, that one. Those are my two, the high points for me, though.
Okay, number 4, Miller's Crossing.
I think he put way too much credit. Give that way too much credit. It's a solid film, but man, it ain't that. It don't belong that high.
But I can't remember much about it.
Irish mobsters in the U.S. in the 20s or 30s or whatever, and it's a convoluted, twisted, hard-boiled mobster. It's all right.
Never seen
it. It's all right.
Yeah. Number 3, LA Confidential. Now I remember everybody raving about this, but I haven't seen it for years, and again I can't really remember much about it. I need to revisit it.
It's a great movie, man. I love it. I watched that one probably a few times a year.
Never seen it.
Right, fair enough. Really?
Yeah, these last 2 I just haven't gotten around to seeing,
Number 2, Heat.
Absolute masterpiece, man. I love it. Of course, I'd love it.
I've watched it once when it first came out, and I don't remember enjoying it. But again, I just don't appreciate it at the time. Maybe I need to revisit that as well.
Well, there's no Jewish kids getting shot in it, so probably it's not your forte.
It's not just Jewish kids.
Just kids in general.
And then number 1. Oh, go on.
Do I get to have my opinion on any of this? You just skip right over me every time.
Yeah, I haven't had my dinner yet because of the whole daylight saving hours. I feel weak.
I think your true feelings are being brought out on this show. We're gonna have a whole yeah. I saw Heat again. One of those I saw recently, trying to work my way through different things that I've missed, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well put together, but I don't have that. Where people are just gaga over it. And I thought it was great. I would watch it again, but it's not like something I would go out of my way to defend or it's just. So
you seen it recently? Solid.
Yeah, I saw it recently.
If you saw it at the time, I think that you'd
probably different. Yeah, but again, I have nothing bad to say about the movie. I really enjoyed it.
Probably one of the best firefights ever put on film too, for realism.
Yep.
I kind of want to watch it just for that, just to sort of, sit there and think, cool, Sean going on about his guns. See, look. And then number one, apparently his best movie in the 90s was Goodfellas.
No, it's not the best movie of the 90s, but it should be on the list. It is not number one, though.
It is Joe Pesci in it is brilliant.
Yeah.
Funny. How am I funny to you? Funny how?
How am I funny? I thought you said I'm a right spider. That's a quote from the movie that you.
Oh, is it? I haven't seen it for many, many years.
I haven't seen it in a while either, but I've seen it a few times, and it is great. And I think there is an argument to be made for it to be at the top of the 90s, whether or not it is or not. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that it could be. It's that good.
If you tend to like crime and stuff like that kind of movies or that, yeah, I could see it, but.
See, to me,
I mean, you gonna tell me that it's a better movie than Shawshank Redemption? Do you think that? Would you say that is a better movie than Shawshank Redemption?
No, because I think Shawshank is again just one of those films that's just close to perfect in every way.
I mean, I like crime and shoot 'em ups and violence, and even I would not say that. Oh, that's a better movie than Shawshank. I can't even say, and I would be more prone to say that than probably you two would be.
The weird thing is I watched The Irishman when it came out, wherever it was, a couple of years ago, whenever it was. To me, The Irishman was just, it wasn't Goodfellas 2, but it was just Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and a few other people doing some gangster stuff. Yeah. And The Irishman just absolutely bored the crap out of me. I did not get it at all.
It didn't bore me, and I was entertained, but I will never rewatch it. Not because I hate it, but it's the kind that I will not revisit unless I was at somebody's house and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's watch this," or something like that. I guess.
What's the best movie of the 90s then?
I would say Terminator 2 would be the one I'd put on that list for sheer awesomeness and entertainment value. Man, I mean, what does it not have that? Everybody anybody like us would like it,
For me, I'd have to say Fight Club, because I just think Fight Club it's so perfect. It's so well done.
I'd put it within one or two of each other, for sure.
It is close. The Matrix, Terminator 2, Fight Club, I think would probably be in my top three.
What about True Lies and The Last Boy Scout? Would you guys have that on a list? True Lies, 97.
I haven't seen Last Boy Scout for many years.
Yeah. It didn't do well at the time. I don't recall it being that big of a hit at the time.
Yeah, Last Boy Scout is, I don't know, it's all right. I liked True Lies a lot, but I mean, maybe top action movies of the 90s, that kind of thing. But it's a top movie. It's fine. It's crowd pleasing.
It deserves to be on the list more than Dead Man.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Anything that deserves to be on the list better more than Dead Man. Like I say, I cannot understand why anybody would sit through that. I really can't.
He just wanted to sound smart and cultured as all. It's like,
I'll put in Fight Club and I'll put in so. I'll put in something a bit, snobby. Dead Man's really great as well.
A film connoisseur such as myself likes things like Dead Man.
Ugh, no, I don't. I'm not a connoisseur at all. Okie doke. Right, so that's wrapped that up. Star Trek's getting screwed over more than Star Wars, according to Sean, and the top 25 90s movies were all in the wrong order. We've put that to bed.
That about sums it up.
That's right. And everybody knows the best 90s movie, of course, was The Phantom Menace. Let's just...
Yeah. We're the ones that got the microphone on the live show, so our opinions is the one that the most subjectively.
If you're not going to type in and say anything, your opinion means nothing.
Well, speaking of which, there's a lot of chatting here. Do you want to?
Yeah, he
should
put a lot of effort
these.
into that, so we should respond to some of that.
Yes.
Unbreakable was very good. Yeah, it was not bad.
Which one?
Unbreakable. Bruce Willis.
2000. Windows 2.
Yeah.
Year 2000.
The Cops Run. That was from Ed Wood. When they're filming, he's like, "Cops Run. Do we have a permit? No."
That's such a good movie, man. I want to watch it now. Just us talking about it makes me want to watch it again.
It's worth watching just for seeing Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi. He's so good. Boris Karloff was not good enough to eat my shit.
I love how he's like so tired and he goes, shoots up some heroin. He's like, let's shoot this fucker.
And Copycat with Sigourney Weaver.
Dude, nobody talks about that anymore. Like, I watched it a couple months ago just because it come on one of the millions of movie channels I have, and I remember I watched it in the theater at the time, and I had not thought of it since. So, no.
Yeah. I think I've seen it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
He says Unbreakable is also on the list of movies where knowing the twist does not hurt. I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
I did find it a bit paced slowly. It could have been a bit more of an action film. It's if you made it into an action movie, it would have been a really decent one. But it was quite of a slog.
I think it was sort of. I mean, it's a what would you call it? It's sort of a backdoor superhero movie at the time because he was like he wanted to make a superhero movie, but I guess nobody had let him or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, let's sneak it in." So it's probably that way because of that, I think.
Well, after Avatar, it's probably for the best.
Okay, so and that's pretty much it. Thank you, Maddox, for joining us. Aggie did join us earlier, but like I say, Aggie, you need to get on and chat with us because it would be nice to have you back. It'd be nice to talk to somebody who's got an intelligent accent.
Dean was on here a couple of weeks ago. I can always invite him back.
Oh, no, speaking of that, sorry, that's what I was going to say before we do wrap up. So who have we got as a special guest with us next week?
Oh, yeah, that's a good thing. Cecil from Good Bad Flicks, the gigantic YouTube channel.
That's right.
Okie doke.
We may actually have double digits in our viewers this time.
Yeah, if not on the live stream, there will be a big watch probably because Cecil has like 500,000 followers and 10 years of being on YouTube or longer.
Yep, I'm going to actually do some research. I've been watching Good Bad Flicks since he was, God, it's got to be over 10 years now. But he was on he was on YouTube, but his videos were getting published on a website called the Agony Booth. And we asked him about that, and
yeah, he's been on like that, and then oh god, there's a couple of sites that are now defunct. I think that he was part of. He was on that, and oh god, was it? I can't think of him off the top of my head now, but yeah, he's been around on several places, and he was on the Radiodrome podcast on 1201 Beyond with Josh Hadley and Peter Gajic, which is known as the Cinemasochist on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And
cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He was on on that In Search of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that, by the way. I love the other three that they've done.
And the In Search of Darkness, he was on all those, commentator on there. On there with the big guys like Angry Video Game Nerd.
It was the first time I'd actually seen him. I'm watching him talk. I'm like, who's this guy? And I'm like, I know that voice.
Yeah, he's normally pretty private. Yeah. He's a Star Trek and Star Wars super nerd like yourself, so...
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
I think he named one of his kids Picard or something, so...
I thought you were going to say Jabba or something like that.
No, I think he really did name one of his kids after some Star Trek character or something. That's the rumor, anyway.
This is my little son, Luke, and his sister, Salacious B. Crumb.
Jar Jar.
But now, given her chosen profession, we've renamed her Horta.
Hey-o.
And so that means we're going to have to watch the jokes next week.
Yeah, we have to. Well, no, but
I'll be good.
No. It's not that. We just have to no politics because he's very careful about keeping his neutrality on that because
that's fair enough.
He's big,
Cool. So we're going to leech off the popularity of somebody else next week.
As I say, it'd be nice to talk about something to actually talk about movies. I have this sinking suspicion. I'm going to ask him this, that he actually bought an old VCR rental place, and they just like stacks of this shit in the back, and because he keeps finding movies. I'm like, where does he find this crap? I've never seen or even heard of this stuff before, but he'll find some obscure 80s. I know he's got a stack of them in there. He's just watching them. He's like, oh, here's another one I'll talk about.
I've been finding some great stuff lately.
I'll tell you how he knows about all this stuff. It's the same reason that every movie he talks about I've already seen, is that he probably didn't have parents that cared about him and sat in front of HBO all day, every day during the summer.
You're saying you're saying its entire YouTube channel is a cry for help.
Yeah. Just like everything I say is a cry for help.
I've been finding some interesting stuff. It was weird, actually. On that documentary, they had a movie called Strange Invaders, and I remember having a VHS of that. But the weirdest thing is, I don't remember anything about the movie. It was so weird. I watched it again yesterday, and I do not remember anything about it, even though I know I had the VHS.
Do you remember Space Invaders, where like one of the aliens sounds like Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
And they crash land on Earth, and they got this enforcer drone.
I love that movie, and I am very, very careful never to watch it again and disrupt any fond memories I had.
Yeah.
It's just as fun, and it's just as entertaining now as it was then.
Is it?
Trust me. Yeah.
I never got tired of them because they kept, saying, "Prepare to die, our scum," and everything would screw up. And finally, the one guy goes, "Prepare to die, our scum. We're going to carve that on your tombstone."
They get him the donut of death, and he's like, "Yeah."
It just falls apart.
Yeah.
Great. Brilliant. Movie. Okay, so let's wrap this up. I've got to have food. I'm wasting away to normal here.
Yeah, me too. I haven't eaten.
Babies.
Are you wrapping up then for us, Yoda?
You know what, Sean? Why don't you contribute to this thing for once?
Okay. See y'all next week.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
You can find us.
Maximum effort.
Yeah. Go to lastmovieoutpost.com. Read our rambling. You can find Yoda at something at Twitter. Same with George. I can't remember because I don't have Twitter. Sorry. I'm normal.
I hate to say it, but that's actually a lot more entertaining than mine. All right, guys.
There's some other stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Don't forget to tip your waitress. I got a website.
Send money to Sean Thompson at paypal.com.
I've actually got a website that Yoda refuses to promote because he's jealous. If you like gun stuff, scatteredshots.com.
I would never refuse to promote your website because I know you are well armed. And I'm quite frightened of you, to be honest with you.
The only reason I'm here is because they're afraid of me.
Yeah. We're not stupid,
I'm not. I live on the other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, they don't.
He's never going to find me. Yeah, he's never going to find me though.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Sean
very much,
landing in London, going, "Do you know Phil? Yeah, he's down there."
I'll just use my nose to find you. It's like, what's the smelliest place?
Nope, you're still going to be
I'll just go. I'll say, where's the middle-aged dude that walks around with a bathrobe that looks like a Jedi robe? And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we know that guy."
Oh,
that's a lot of guys.
We know that guy. That's Prince Charles.
Anyway, Yoda. Seems as Sean's conclusion was about as interesting as anything Sean says, really.
If you're still watching, we have 5 viewers, so if you're still watching, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Standard 4.
A lot better than last week.
Come to lastmovieoutpost.com because we have all the latest in streaming and movie news. We are the cool news now. You can reach us at contact us at lastmovieoutpost.com. I am at Drunken Yoda 1. He is at Not George Lucas 1. And of course, we are at Movie Outpost. So tweet us anytime you'd like. We also have this YouTube channel. We need you to subscribe. We need you to like. We need you to share. We need all the help we can get. You can hit that big red subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And of course, smash the like button. That helps build the YouTube channel and the YouTube algorithm that you actually like this. And even if you don't, smash it anyway because we don't want to just leech off of you. We got other people we can leech off of.
If you had a YouTube show, we'd like it.
That's right, we would. Or we
would
hit the button.
Ever send us any.
That's right. Damn it, I was on a roll. You guys broke it all up. So anyway, we will have Good Bad Flicks Cecil on here next week, and I gotta tell you, I'm really looking forward to that. And we will have more videos coming your way. I know George is working on some. I have a Overlooked I'm working on, and of course, every Saturday you can have the entertainment news brought to you by myself and no one else because no one else wants to take the blame, and I don't blame them. So with that, I will let you guys go. George, got any final words?
No.
Technically, that is a word. Sean, anything from you?
Tune in next week to watch us have a guest way out of our pay grade on.
See us completely out of our depths.
That's right.
Yeah, watch a real pro at work.
You got to watch the actual living embodiment of the old Chris Farley show. You remember that video you did? It was really cool.
Man, I love that one time that you made that joke and that one. Oh my God, man,
that's cool. God, I'm such an idiot. All right, we better end this because we're way over. This went way longer than I expected it to. So
I know I'm still hungry.
I know. Before George starts eating his own microphone, there we'll go ahead and head out, and we will see you on the next stream.